Imagine if suddenly your city froze. The temperature dropped by 80 degrees Celsius, and over 90% of the world's population died frozen. After weeks of freezing, those who survived in their homes have water and electricity cut off. With nothing to eat and no way to stay warm, everyone starves. Our protagonist is the only one who prepared for the end of the world and has a comfortable life. And for those who can afford his price, he can provide a little food. His price is steep.
Yeah, boy.
But not everything started well. The truth is, in the year 2050, a star explosion caused Earth to enter an ice age. Zhang Yi worked at a Walmart warehouse and thus managed to stockpile a lot of food. In the apocalypse, the girl he liked broke into his house with a group of neighbors and stole Al his food. She admits she tricked him into opening the door. On his deathbed, Zhang Yi swore that if he could find her in hell, he would get his revenge. For some reason, he returns 3 months back in time before everything happened. Surprised, he swears not to be a sucker for the girl anymore, to take revenge on those who deserve it, and to see his neighbors suffer, and to enjoy it as well. There are 3 months left until the extreme cold arrives. His priority is to stockpile everything he needs before the end of the world and build a safe house. As he pondered how to start his plan, a bright light passes through his eyes, and, instead of blindness, he discovers he can send things to a different dimension, like a game inventory. His idea is to accumulate here an entire supermarket of food, so he never has to worry about food and drink for years. Thinking about all the good food he won't be able to eat in 3 months, Zhang Yi goes to a luxury restaurant to stuff himself, spends 50,000 Korean wons, and puts it all on his credit card because in 3 months, all his problems will be over. The girl Fang Yuqing, whom he had been in love with for years and never got anywhere with, and who betrayed him in his past life, along with her friend, sees that he went to a luxury restaurant. Her friend says she's lucky because this loser does everything for her, and he must be rich now. Fang Yuqing, in my last life, pretended to be innocent and virginal, and in the end, stole everything I had, even your arms. Right now, I want to kill that bitch right here, but that would land me in jail. I have to wait until the end of the world to do something. Zhang Yi flashes his bank card and asks, "Do you want to go shopping at the supermarket?" He uses them both to carry everything and show that he now has money, and they accept happily in hopes of making some profit. They ask, "Why so much food?" And the protagonist says, "You never know when an apocalypse might happen, and it's good to be prepared." The two opportunists complain that he's not carrying anything and that they're doing him a big favor. Now Zhang Yi owes them a luxurious dinner like the one he had before. Laughing coldly inside, Zhang Yi looks forward to the time when it's his turn to treat them very well. "I'm looking forward to that too." At the market exit, his Aunt Lin with her grandson says, "You can't eat all of that alone. Give some to your aunt." After saying this, the 5-year-old grandson steals his shopping cart. Zhang Yi takes it back. "Sorry, I'll eat it all by myself." The child starts throwing a tantrum, cursing at Zhang Yi. "I'll punch your teeth out if you keep this up." The kid starts crying immediately. Aunt Lin asks what he's doing, an adult fighting with a child, and says she'll buy the chocolate. She'll transfer the money later. He shows his QR code and says not later, now his old lady, pass it over now or go to the market to buy it. He leaves, leaving Aunt Lin angry. Arriving home, Fang Yuqing winked at him, and the two told him not to forget about them. "I slammed the door in those bitches' faces." After sending the two away, Zhang Yi put Al the purchased food in storage space to see if it spoils over time. He still has a lot to do, building an impenetrable fortress with heating devices and medical supplies. It would also be great if he could get some weapons. There are 3 months left until the Ice Age. By then, he has to sell everything he has as quickly as possible and get more. The next day, looking at the storage space, he checks the freshness of the food and discovers that living creatures cannot be stored, but the food remains as fresh as when he stored it. Knowing this, Zhang Yi picked up his phone and contacted the best local restaurant, ordering 500 full meals for delivery. He explained that he would be hosting a 3-day, 3-night feast, so he needed so much food. His next step was to find his property deed and go to the bank to mortgage his apartment. Considering that after the apocalypse, money would become worthless paper, Zhang Yi decided to take out a loan with his apartment as collateral. In 3 months, he would make the payment for this loan. The manager warned that the interest rate would be a bit high, but upon hearing this, Zhang Yi rubbed his hands together, indicating that it didn't matter if the interest rates were high. He got 9 mil ion and would pay 30 mil ion in 3 months or lose his house and car. Next, he went to the best security company. A business manager approached and asked if he needed help. Zhang Yi shared his idea of building a safe house for the apocalypse. The business manager presented various plans for the protagonist to choose from, but he was not satisfied with the ones presented. He declared that the house should be reinforced with aviation materials. The balcony should use bullet-proof glass, in addition to adding an air filtration system and a 360-degree blind spot-free monitoring system. The front door should be made of the same material as bank vault doors. Additional why, he asked the manager to find a way to obtain some weapons. The business manager was surprised by these renovations and the need for weapons. He could get everything except the weapons. Zhang Yi concluded that this would turn the house into a fortress. The final plan cost 8 mil ion, and after paying the deposit, he asked them to start the work immediately. Next, he needed to obtain some weapons for self-defense. He called the owner of a hunting club and managed to get some crossbows as weapons. As soon as he returned home, the 500 full meals he had ordered also arrived on several trucks. This caught the attention of many people in the neighborhood, as they were delivery trucks from a 5-star hotel, which would cost at least 1 mil ion or so. After some time, Zhang Yi's house was filled. Wasting no time, he put everything into storage space. Basically why, he wouldn't need to worry about food for years of his life. The next day, the security company workers came to start building the safe house. This scene attracted the attention of many neighbors, who mocked Zhang Yi, asking if he had taken the wrong medication. However, he didn't care because he believed that when the end came, they would find out who was the joke. Next, Zhang Yi went to the manager of the company where he works and bought a portion of the medicine supplies, offering double the market price to have priority to buy everything, even what was already sold to other companies. Then, he transported these things home, little by little. His recent stockpiling activities also caught the attention of Fang Yuqing, who asked if something was about to happen, mentioning that she had been thinking a lot about him recently. The protagonist didn't want to respond to Fang Yuqing's fake concern, leaving her angry. Zhang Yi, the suck-up who used to do everything she asked, suddenly started ignoring her. His best friend simply laughed at the situation. She stated that if something big was happening, the country would definitely notify everyone. All she has to do is win over the nouveau riche Zhang Yi, so they can benefit. After weeks, Zhang Yi's safe house was successfully built. The company also installed surveillance systems on every floor of the building. Zhang Yi was very pleased with the service. Now only one last batch of supplies was about to arrive. Several trucks of drinking water arrived successively. One of the delivery drivers was his uncle Yu, who lives in his neighborhood. He seemed curious as to why his nephew ordered so many gallons of drinking water. In his past life, Uncle Yu was one of the few good people to Zhang Yi, so he whispered to his uncle, "The weather this year is going to be very cold. You should stock up on supplies to prepare as soon as possible." Hearing this, Uncle Yu didn't want to believe, but upon seeing Zhang Yi's serious face, he couldn't help but take it seriously. "Get back to work, you lazy bum." In the following weeks, Zhang Yi spent his days spending his money, stocking up more and more supplies, and training with the bow and arrow every day. With only 3 days left until the extreme cold, the weather was already abnormal. The final moment arrived. Zhang Yi, at his job, where he is the stock supervisor, made tea and invited his colleagues for a drink. After they drank, an hour later, they all passed out. After turning off the surveillance cameras, it's his time to calmly steal the resources from the Walmart warehouse: fuel, food, and equipment. He quickly empties the warehouse. One of the boxes caught his attention: cold resistance equipment that had recently been purchased by the company. They could withstand temperatures of -100 degrees. To complete his perfect plan, Zhang Yi also took a special sleeping tea and joined his colleagues. 2 hours later, he is awakened by his employee saying they are screwed, the warehouse was robbed, they took everything. Upon hearing this, he pretends to be surprised. How did all the warehouse products disappear? The manager calls him asking about the warehouse supplies theft. Knowing that the entire warehouse was emptied at once without leaving any clues, and even the cameras didn't see, the manager immediately accuses the supervisor of planning this crime with more people. Zhang Yi, nervously smiling, says he's not competent enough for that. Everyone is taken to the police station to give statements, but nothing is found out. How could they find out that the warehouse was teleported? After the interrogation, the police officer says not to leave the city under any circumstances, as everyone is a suspect. Maliciously, Zhang Yi says he won't even leave the house. This incident on December 10th made news in the city. No one can believe that tons of supplies disappeared without a trace in less than 3 hours. It was also on this day that heavy snowfall began in the sky. Zhang Yi knew this was the beginning of the cold apocalypse. 3 days later at home, when the shockwave from a supernova explosion brings catastrophe to the entire planet, the temperature starts dropping rapidly overnight. Looking at the heavy snow through the window, Zhang Yi says that this time the story will be different. The people in the apartment owners group were nervous, as it was the first time they had seen so much snow in the city. Observing everything in the building group, Zhang Yi knows that for many people, this was the first and also the last time they saw snow. In his past life, the heavy snowstorm lasted for 3 whole months and the temperature kept dropping, causing many people who had not stocked up on food beforehand to freeze to death. On the second day of freezing weather, the heavy snow at the residential area entrance had already accumulated to a height of 1 meter. Even if people turned the heater to the maximum, they still trembled from the cold inside the house. However, Zhang Yi, who had prepared several pieces of heating equipment beforehand, was comfortably warm and comfortable. After a good sleep, Zhang Yi was awakened by the noise of the phone. It was a call from the naughty Yu Qing asking if Zhang Yi knew about the temperature drop when he stocked up supplies every day in the last few months, and why he didn't even inform her, who likes him so much. Now she's freezing cold and eating instant noodles. Hearing this, Zhang Yi laughed and hung up the phone on her face. The damn girl got angry on the other side. She then shamelessly sent a text asking for food, and it wasn't even that way. Reading the message, Zhang Yi decided to troll a bit. He sent her a photo of a steak with wine, which she immediately recognized as top-quality Wagyu and a very expensive French wine. At that moment, the urge to have some became strong, and he asked her to eat it with him and drink wine too. Zhang Yi's response was, if she wanted, she could go to the market and buy it herself. Despite her anger, she calmed down, because she needed to please Zhang Yi to be able to go to his place too. After that, he just ignored her and went back to enjoying his meal. It was then that on the building's surveillance cameras on the iPad screen, he saw the show, Aunt Lin, who was the building manager, saying not to panic and not to fight over food. The extreme weather would last at most 2 or 3 days, and the neighborhood committee would help everyone through this. Aunt Lin warned that excessive hoarding of supplies is prohibited and would be reported to the authorities if discovered. However, one person spoke out against it, questioning how she could be sure that the heavy snowfall wouldn't last long. The surrounding residents also wanted to know, stating that if they didn't stock up on supplies now, Aunt Lin would be responsible if they ran out of food. Aunt Lin then stated that the neighborhood committee would take responsibility for this issue, then pointed to Zhang Yi to divert attention just to tell him not to cause trouble. He didn't care about the threats and went back to his super safe house. A week passed and the snow outside kept falling. Aunt Lin asked the building group for Zhang Yi, who is young, to clear the snow from the building's door. He says it's useless to clear because it would be like trying to dry a river with a bucket. By refusing Aunt Lin's request to clear the snow, Zhang Yi suggested she ask the rich people in the neighborhood for help. She was furious and clearly just trying to pick a fight. Angrily, she said that on behalf of the neighborhood committee, this is an order, and whoever opposes the orders will be blamed by the neighborhood committee for the problems. Questioning why Aunt Lin didn't call the rich people in the neighborhood to do the heavy lifting, he proposed that Aunt Lin ask Chen Zheng how to clear the snow. Chen Zheng is a construction boss. He has employees for that, and Xing Song is a rich guy and can afford to pay if he doesn't want to help like everyone else. The authority of Tia Lin in the group was shattered, and upon reading the messages, Lin, cursing, decided to call both members of the group to clean the snow together, tagging them in the chat. Upon seeing the message, Chen Zheng immediately got angry with Tia Lin and with Zhang Yi for acting as if he owned the place. Xing Song sent an audio message in the group saying he was busy working hard and sent a photo to show how busy he was. Tia Lin was furious with the rich guy's response but didn't question anything. She just accused Zhang Yi of causing this confusion. Zhang Yi didn't bother and ignored the rest. Tia Lin was so furious that she called Zhang Yi personally to complain. He threatened her that if she kept talking nonsense and bothering him, he would kill her. Trembling with fear, she hung up and didn't say anything else in the group. While he was eating, a loud noise came from the front door, and Chen Zheng outside shouted, "You were acting all high and mighty in the chat, putting others against me in the group. I'm going to kill you now, punk." Zhang Yi grabbed his bow and went to the door, while Chen Zheng was kicking. Magically aiming through the door opening, he asked about who would kill whom first. Zhang Yi hit Chen Zheng's shin with an arrow. Through the peephole, he saw the arrogant guy on the floor, groaning in pain non-stop. No one would imagine that a silly and naive boy, an honest person, would have the courage to react like this. Chen Zheng didn't know that this was just the beginning of Zhang Yi's revenge. With the cold temperature, Chen Zheng could die if not treated in time. He would slowly die from infection, and weak would die from the cold. Struggling to reach the elevator, he didn't imagine that this kid he had seen 3 times in his life would do this to him. The truth is that Zhang Yi wanted to kill him at once. Realizing this, he got scared, grabbed the phone, and called an emergency, but because of the snow, any assistance was impossible. So he treated himself, taking advantage of the cold and numb leg. He removed the arrow himself, then picked up the phone again to threaten in the owner's group, telling Zhang Yi to watch his words. "Chen Zheng will kill you." Fearlessly, Zhang Yi responded confidently, "Come here again, and I'll kill you." This conversation left the curious ones in the chat group horrified. After all, no one in the region would have the courage to go against Chunjung. This was the first time someone directly confronted the guy. Furious, he grabbed the phone and called all his employees. In no time, a herd of people, each holding their own weapon, arrived at his house. Baldy led them all to Zhang Yi's door. "Zhang Yi, you offended our big bro. Today is the day of your death." Attacking the door that was supposed to be made of wood, his sword broke, and he flew, spinning away. Scared, Baldy said that this door is made of pure metal. How many enemies does this kid have? His house is more protected than a bank. Watching the security cameras, Zhang Yi said they seemed weak and must be hungry. The group of people, angrier and angrier, Zhang Yi had the idea of grabbing a water hose and turning it on from the kitchen tap. The workers outside saw the door opening passage, not understanding anything because it wasn't an arrow, so there was no danger. The hose sprayed cold water on all of them. A bunch of them fell to the frozen ground. Only a few managed to escape. This scene left Zhang Yi quite satisfied. In this freezing cold, cold water is more dangerous than weapons. In Chen Jing's house, 3 of them who escaped huddled together, trembling with cold. He angrily asked, "What happened?" An entire group couldn't catch a boy. The 3 explained that Zhang Yi was very clever. He put a burglar-proof steel door in the apartment. He sprayed cold water on all of us through a hole in the door. Chen Jing said he can't hide there forever. Put some men to guard his door day and night. When he needs to leave the house, get him and bring him. At the building's entrance, Uncle Yu led some people to clear the snow at the residential area's entrance, planning to dig a path to the supermarket to restock food. But they realized that, as Zhang Yi said, they couldn't dig as fast as the snow fell. After a while, they gave up and prepared to return. Watching this, Zhang Yi said that human power can't beat one of this size. Even though the television is reassuring all citizens that the country is winning the snow disaster, Zhang Yi is the only one who knows that 95% of the global population froze to death in this snow disaster. His lifelong passion sends a message asking if he's okay. If she didn't know the truth, she could be here with him in luxury. Zhang Yi says he's fine. She says she's out of food and reminds him that he bought a lot of stuff. "Give me some, and later I'll invite you to dinner here." Slyly, Zhang Yi sends a photo of a lobster and says it's already being served for dinner. Seeing this, she gets annoyed, thinking that's why he's single. His chances with her are over now. Her best friend takes the opportunity to send a message too, saying, "You made Fang Yuqin sad now." Seeing this message, Zhang Yi says that this little drama is weak. The best friend gives up, saying that the snow won't last long. Why can't he help his lovely neighbors? He might even win Fang Yuqin over. That would be great for him. Zhang Yi ignores and responds with just an "oh." This pisses off the other bitch too. This loser suddenly turned so Alpha Sigma Red Pill? Yuqing gives up trying to figure out why his loser attitude changed so suddenly. They have the idea that if this loser isn't served anymore, they can use another one with less money. Yuqing called another loser, Zhou Ping. He came running and brought a big bag of supplies, saying it's all the food he has. Before Yuqing could fool another sucker, her friend slammed the door in his face. From the bitch's expression, she didn't even care. She was just thinking about getting revenge on Zhang Yi for ignoring her. With this additional bag, 5 days passed, and the snow kept increasing. While eating a piece of chicken while waiting for the real drama to begin, all the buildings were in the dark with the electricity cut off. Soon, neighbors started coming out of their homes, asking each other if they had electricity. Now, with water and electricity cut off, the heaters no longer worked. It was getting cold enough to die inside under the blankets. Before finishing the chicken, Zhang Yi was picking his teeth and turning on the generator he had bought before, or stolen, because he also did that at the warehouse. Neighborhood committee member Aunt Lin is trembling as she holds her grandson. She never expected the snowstorm to last so long. A message arrives in the group that only she has. Someone saying that this is a global snowstorm that occurs once every 100,000 years. We could be on the brink of a mass extinction event. Several important cities in the country have already been affected. Everyone must stock up on more supplies. Reading this, Aunt Lin was shocked. She never imagined the snow disaster would be so severe. Then she thought of a plan. She needs to make all residents give up their food before they receive this news. Aunt Lin posts a message in the owners group saying not to worry. This disaster is temporary. Workers are currently repairing the water and power interruptions. The authorities have issued an order. Because of these extraordinary circumstances, the neighborhood committee will manage all property owners. Those who do not cooperate will be arrested and interrogated by the police. Seeing this message, everyone becomes dissatisfied, especially Chen Zheng. But even if he is influential, if it's a police order, he has to obey. Meanwhile, Tialin continues in the group chat. Due to the seriousness of the snowstorm, the neighborhood committee has decided to collect all supplies from each owner and distribute them equally to everyone to help overcome this crisis. Upon seeing this message, Zhang Yi remembers that she did the same thing in her past life and stole food from all the residents. Tialin's mistake was sending a message privately to Zhang Yi saying, "My nephew, you work in the warehouse. I saw you last time buying 3 truckloads of stuff. You must have stocked up a lot of food. It's your turn to do your part." Zhang Yi, angry, immediately replies with an audio message, "You armed, bitch. Liar, guys. He says he ate too much and ran out of supplies at home. When she collects from the building, come share some with me." Hearing this audio made the old lady almost have a heart attack from anger. How could he have ruined everything so quickly? But realizing that she and her grandson are in dire straits and depend on Zhang Yi, the lady calms down and responds kindly, "This is an order from the organization. You have to obey. After the snow passes, I will report your good deeds to the organization." If Zhang Yi hadn't died the last time in his life, he would have believed her. So he responds, picking his teeth, "Aunt, I'm not lying. I have nothing to eat at home, and I'm hungry. How about you send me some instant noodles, please?" Upon hearing this, Tialin couldn't hold back and replied to Zhang Yi, "Refusing to surrender your supplies is the same as going against the organization. I will definitely report you all." Zhang Yi dismissed her and said she was nothing. This made Tialin so nervous that she slammed her phone against the wall, furious with Zhang Yi just like her. After not getting any advantage, Tialin focused on the other owners. If she could deceive some of them, it would be enough. 2 days later, with Tialin lying, several owners sent their supplies to the old lady's house. Seeing this situation, Zhang Yi thought that everyone was stupid, believing in someone in this post-apocalyptic world. After so long, the whole world must be in chaos. Not enough food. People could only wait to starve to death or hunt for food. Many owners began tagging Tialin in the chat, asking about the supplies that were supposed to be distributed equally. "Many of us have no food at home. I want food, or I'll eat you, Tialin." The crooked trustee responded to the demands, mocking, "You idiots. These supplies were obtained through my hard work. Why should I give them away?" At that moment, her phone rang and, seeing that it was Chen Zheng, she began to sweat cold. "What do you want with an old lady?" Chen Zheng said coldly. "Tialin, you really tricked and took everyone's supplies to your house." She pretended to be innocent, saying it was the arrangement of the community committee and that she was just doing her duty. Chen Zheng then said that this is perfect. 10 of them are waiting for her to distribute the supplies. Hearing this, Tialin tried to argue, saying, "These supplies have not been sorted yet. Some owners have not yet handed in their supplies, so we cannot start distributing them yet. So, alright," Chen Zheng, along with his starving companions, stormed her house. There is no more law in this chaos, and he smacks the old lady in the face. Today, he will be the justice. Meanwhile, Zhang Yi watched everything on the surveillance cameras, calmly eating a sausage. He also had the idea to record the action at Tialin's house and share it in the building group chat. Seeing that they were going to take all the food and leave nothing behind, she tried to stop Chen Zheng. "Some of the supplies here are the ones I personally stocked. Without these supplies, how will she and her grandson survive?" Chen Zheng said, "Fuck it," and kicked the old lady. The grandson, in shock, grabbed a bread knife to defend his grandmother, and he stabbed a guy's dick. After feeling the pain, the worker kicked the boy in the chest, while others laughed at him. Chen Zheng didn't show concern for this, and even said that this is what she deserves for deceiving us. "We are just delivering justice." Through the residents group, watching everything, they also applauded and enjoyed it. "You old liar, that's how you deal with scammers." They thanked Chen Zheng. Seeing these messages, Zhang Yi said that these idiots don't understand the real problem. Today, Chen Zheng invaded old lady Lin's house. Tomorrow, he may invade yours. But since all of this doesn't represent a risk for Zhang Yi, he says he doesn't care. His steel door will never fall to these guys. After a while, Tialin was asking for help in the residents group. "Does anyone have hemostatic drugs, wound medicine, and antibiotics? My grandson was shot by Chen Zheng. Dr. Xiaohu urgently needs these medicines for the grandson's surgery." Upon hearing this, Zhang Yi's eyes widened. Dr. Xiaohu was a kind doctor in his past life. Here we see why his eyes are turned in different directions. Tialin made an appeal for medicine, promising gratitude to anyone willing to provide it. But all she received was a lull from the residents. No one wanted to believe or help. Zhang Yi, seeing this, just thought it must be karma. Outside, the snowstorm lasted for over a week, paralyzing practically everything with snow, covering the entire ground floor. Even if the boy was saved by the doctor, would he live without food? Many people have heard from the news that this was a global snowstorm that occurs once every 100,000 years. The whole world was almost buried in the snowstorm. In some northern cities, the temperature dropped to less than 100 degrees C. Many residents who tried to evacuate to the south ended up freezing to death on the way. In the residents group, Tia Lin started asking for help again. "My dear grandson has been hungry for 2 days. He's just a child. Are you going to sit there and watch him die?" She was willing to pay for the supplies. Seeing this, the residents started selling packs of instant noodles for $2,000, and then they helped her grandson. Zhang Yi, as always, watching everything, found it amusing. People don't understand the apocalypse in front of them. Soon, they will have to eat money. As a rich person and knowledgeable about things, Xingzong started buying food from everyone who sold it for a lot of money. He knew very well that you can't eat money in this apocalyptic world. A single mother made an appeal for help in the group as well. Her daughter was about to starve to death, and she hoped everyone could help her. Zhang Yi says that this woman in his past life, with her daughter, survived for a long time, so it's all good. It had been 10 days since the freezing. Zhang Yi, as always, was at home, enjoying the comfort. At this moment, the phone rang. Seeing who it was, he chuckled. He opened the video call and said they seemed thinner. So are they eating well? The sight of the chicken made both of them drool instantly, and they asked why he still has so much food at home. And with this cold, why is he sweating? Mockingly, he says he has a fireplace at home. It's very warm, and he jokes that he's even thinking of going for a run outside to get some fresh air. Yu Qing, drooling over Zhang Yi, saying he's amazing, asked to take a bath inside with him. Without thinking twice, he rejected the invitation and even made a joke. The girl instantly became angry at Zhang Yi's words. It's okay if you don't want to help, but mocking them is not cool. So, is that how it is? You still think I'm a loser? Zhang Yi asked. If you want food, go find your rich boy. And he hung up the call. On the other end, Yu Qing got so pissed off that she threw her phone on the ground. Her loser wasn't a loser anymore. Her best friend still praised Zhang Yi. This guy is awesome. It's her loss for not enjoying the stuff at his place right now. He's better than the rich boys they used to hang out with. The two ended up in a fistfight because the girl wouldn't accept being called dumb. Meanwhile, the government stopped hiding the news of the snow disaster and issued a TV announcement. To meet everyone's electricity needs, power supply would only be available at night, and even then, the voltage would be sufficient only for low-power devices. Currently, all major power plants are shut down, and electricity is scarce. Everyone should use only their cell phones and a lamp or two. No electric showers. Everyone now knows that the ice disaster has no end date. After fighting for 10 minutes without losing their friendship, Yu Qing and her friend decided to be more direct. Yu Qing picked up the phone and called the loser, Zhou Peng, telling a story about how Zhang Yi wanted to tarnish his purity just because he had food. Zhou Peng, pissed off upon hearing this, said Zhang Yi was a scumbag and needed to be taken down. Seeing that Zhou Peng was furious, Yu Qing went further and misled the loser into going to rob Zhang Yi's house now. In no time, the three of them were at his door, each with a kitchen knife hidden, knocking. Watching everything through the cameras, Zhang Yi saw the ultimate loser and knew none of them had any idea about the cameras. They knocked and asked to exchange the medicine they had for food. Angry at their attempt to trick him, Zhang Yi decided to be aggressive. Grabbing the hose to spray water on them and end the problems, he changed his mind when he saw the accumulated trash can. His idea was obvious, but magically, I don't know how, he with the hose sprayed sewage on the three, leaving everything full of garbage and saying that's the food they deserve, they can eat. Zhou Peng, furious, struck the door but didn't scratch it. His hand was hurt. Laughing it off, Zhang Yi said through the speaker that the door is made of steel and they can't open it. After a while, Zhang Yi gave up on them and went to sleep. However, he suddenly woke up to the sound of a gunshot. Even though he knew that sooner or later the law of the jungle would be put into practice, the sudden shot still startled him. Checking the surveillance camera images on the tablet, he realized that Chen Zhang and his employees were going from house to house, stealing supplies. Many met the same fate he had in his past life during the apocalypse. He even sent photos of what he could do to the building groups, and claimed that he now controlled all the buildings. Watching the situation through the surveillance cameras, a new group was formed, where several residents denounced Chen Zhang's actions in the chat, stating the need to go against him soon. Zhang Yi was also added to the group and read the messages. Having fun with it all, a retired veteran proposed leading an attack against Chen Zhang, receiving support. The veteran uncle suggested that they needed young volunteers to ensure security and weapons. A woman in the chat immediately sent an audio asking, Aunt Lin stole from them the other day. Can we trust Uncle and give him weapons? This divided the residents into two groups, with half wanting to go after Chen Zhang and the others just not trusting Uncle. Watching the discussion in the group chat, eating something sometimes, and watching through the cameras as Chen Zhang stole more and more houses, Zhang Yi decided he should do something to take this guy down because anyone who goes against him will just end up taking a bullet to the head. That's not fair to everyone. The next morning, a resident who opposed helping the veteran go after Chen Zhang called for help in the residence group. Her door was being forced open, and she would be next. It didn't take long before she was dragged out, and what had to happen happened. Yu Qing and her friends, nervous, realized they needed a plan to be the next ones to be broken into. The girl's idea was to spread the news that Zhang Yi had a stockpile of supplies and gather everyone to join forces to take over his house. They added him to the new group so he would know, but Zhang Yi didn't care and said it's okay. They argued that he should join forces with the four to protect themselves from Chen Zhang. Zhang Yi's response was simply to leave the group. This change in Zhang Yi's attitude left Yu Qing and the others astounded. How could this loser from just 3 months ago now be so firm? They began discussing how to break into Zhang Yi's house and steal his fortress. The smart glasses guy says to open the door. His friend here knows how to pick locks. They decided to try to break the lock and placed umbrellas so they wouldn't get showered with water or garbage again. Zhang Yi, watching through the surveillance cameras, activated the high-voltage defense feature. The clever lockpicker had just admitted that this lock couldn't be opened. The kid practically exploded in shock and died. Seeing this, Zhang Yi felt no remorse for killing these guys. The smart guy with glasses pointed to the door, cursed Zhang Yi as a damn monster, and told him to get out now. Hearing this, he just laughed, grabbed his crossbow, and aiming through the door, hit the left arm of the smart guy's man squarely. The other two went to help the injured and were also hit, the loser and another crazy guy. Yu Qing and the others fled and returned home from where they came. The three hit by arrows were lying on the ground, groaning in pain. One of the girls slapped the slut Yu Qing's face and said it was all her fault. She didn't mention that he had crossbows at home, his crossbow. She argues that she didn't know. Last time, he just sprayed water and garbage. Zhou Peng, the loser as always, defends the slut. Besides, the smart guy remembers that the most important thing is to take care of the wounds. They called, and Dr. Zhou Kier came to check the wounds of the injured people. Surprised, she explained that with the wounds so deep and without professional equipment, they have less than 20%. Furthermore, the iron arrow was rusty, and without antibiotics, it's certain death. The girl, who is a relative of one of the dumb kids, cries at the news and says that Zhang Yi is very cruel and did it on purpose. Until now, Dr. Cootie doesn't know who this is. Zhou Kier leaves the warning. Get medicine soon. If they remove the arrows now, it's over for them. The smart guy with glasses, at this point, must have gone crazy and said Zhang Yi must get the medicine for them. Yu Qing, thinking for once in her life, remembers that Zhang Yi suddenly changed a lot and started stocking up a lot of stuff at home. She tells the others that Zhang Yi does have medicine because she saw him stocking it before. Furthermore, no one here harmed him. They just wanted to rob his house. But since they failed, and only they got hurt, it's his fault. From the corner, there Zhou Kier, listening to everything, just thinks she doesn't know this guy, but they deserve to die anyway. The other girl blames Yu Qing for everything, and forces the slut to figure out how to convince Zhang Yi to give medicine to everyone. This time, even the loser agreed. Without the medicine, he would die too. The plan now was to try to call him, which he answered easily. She is crying on the phone and says the boys are dying, and if he can help, Zhang Yi just asks why he should. Everyone has to die sooner or later. The crazy guy's sister takes the phone to say it's his duty to help because he injured the guys and they were rusty. Zhang Yi then says that he used arrows like that just for them to die anyway. To add insult to injury, he even says he won't help, but Yu Qing can come live with him. At that moment, the girl takes the phone back and says yes, he's yours from now on. Do whatever you want with her, says Zhang Yi. Her blood-sucking friend says to take her too. Zhang Yi says, just come, you can come now. He starts running right away to go. Her friend tries to pull her, and she just gets a push. Get away from me, you bitch, the cousin of one of the boys says, then gives her another slap in the face and calls her a schemer. As always, the slut looks at Zhou Peng, too much of a loser, and asks for his help. He has to make them let her go and be happy with Zhang Yi. She also says that Zhou Peng is a good man, but he's poor and weak. Zhang Yi's brother is the one who can make her happy now. The kid even falls in pain now. She bolted, trying to go to Zhang Yi's house, but the others stopped her. The reason is that everything is her fault, so Yu Qing doesn't have the right to thrive alone. Dr. Zhou Kier reminds them again that without medicine, it's certain death and leaves. One of the injured kids, the smarty there, says they should go ahead with the plan to spread the word that Zhang Yi has plenty of food. The smart one says that when Chen Zhang and the others take Zhang Yi's house, they can get medicine. Yu Qing is against doing this to Zhang Yi's brother. The other girl makes it clear that if she opens her mouth, she'll lose her teeth now. Zhou Peng is against hitting the bitch, but says to her that this plan is the only choice. They posted in the building group the photos and videos that Zhang Yi sent. He really has a lot of food. Seeing the message, Chen Zhang drools and says, "That's perfect. I can get revenge for the leg." In the residence group, people asked Zhang Yi to distribute his supplies to everyone. Others asked for just one meal. Aunt Lin asked for food. and another mother in the group asked him to be her son's godfather. Seeing these requests, Zhang Yi sends an audio message to the group. I'm eating those listening. He really said he wouldn't feed animals and wouldn't help anyone anyway. Ignoring them all, Zhang Yi looks at the snow falling outside the window and thinks, staying home every day is boring. It would be nice to use the snowmobile stored to take a ride around. Suddenly, the phone receives a message from Dr. Jo Kier. She says her medicine and food ran out, and if he wants to negotiate. In her previous life, she died because she gave her last food to a mother with a hungry baby, and she starved to death. Zhang Yi remembers her as a good person, but says that the smarter the woman, the more dangerous she will be. Zhang Yi doesn't want to leave anything to chance and end up dying again. He replied, I can provide supplies, but you need to trade something for them. Seeing the message, Jo Kier says he can give her food for participating in a consultation with her. Look how cute she is, thinking she doesn't even know this guy. And now, Zhang Yi says instead he can provide medicine and food, but she needs to do him a favor. Zhang Yi needs her to be his spy and inform him of the residents' plans. The deal is that, accepting it or not, it's her choice to follow the crowd and die like everyone else or stand by his side. She wonders for a moment if this is right, but decides to accept. The first step is taken, guys. Our Zhang Yi has a lot of food, but lacks food, doesn't he? Then the smart guy with glasses sent a final threat. Zhang Yi, where are you? Last chance, are you going to deliver the supplies or not? Seeing the message, Zhang Yi trolls in the group, saying that his food just ran out. The wounded smart guy threatens him, and soon, Chen Zheng makes a group without Zhang Yi, planning to join together to steal everything he has. Jo Kier and Uncle Yu are in the group and decide to warn Zhang Yi about it. With that, Zhang Yi is sure that Dr. Jo Kier was cooperating with him. Zhang Yi tells her that he has plans to defend himself, just don't be with the herd. It was 2:30 in the morning when a group of armed people marched home, shouting that they had to kill the selfish one. They hammered the door with all their might. Seeing this through the security cameras, Zhang Yi turned on the high-voltage device. Those who were close were electrocuted and died. What a pity. The others were scared and wanted to flee. However, as soon as they turned around, they were blocked by Chen Zheng and his gang. He ordered them to continue breaking the door, or they would die. To motivate the residents, the smart one with glasses said that now they have to kill Zhang Yi to avenge the neighbors he just killed. Besides, inside there's a fireplace and plenty of food. Encouraged, the residents grabbed a wooden log and continued trying to break down the door. Zhang Yi, after some time drinking wine, decides to help them. He took out his sound system, played action music, and said that this was to motivate them. Listening to the music and with more anger, 20 minutes later, the door was only scratched, and the guys were fainting from hunger and exhaustion. The residents, who didn't even know the door was made of steel, were puzzled. One of them goes there to inspect with a magnifying glass and says it's the same material as bank vaults. A door like this, not even a tank could knock down. Zhang Yi, on the other side of the door with his crossbow ready, only aimed well at the throat. The guy was agonizing there, and the other neighbors ran, shouting that he had weapons. Somehow, Zhang Yi hit the people who weren't even facing his door. The technology mysteries that, behind the door, Zhang Yi felt no guilt for it, just self-defense. The smarty with glasses who survived after calming down says he has a plan. The door is steel and thick, but the wall is still made of cement bricks. The neighbors seemed to understand and started hammering the wall next to the door. Cracks began to appear in the wall, and then a metallic sound with an impact occurred. The guy with glasses lost fear of the arrows on the side of the door and went to check. The walls are also lined with steel. Everyone was shocked. Why on earth would someone put steel in the walls? Someone who knew this situation was going to happen, they tried to break several other places in the walls, and every corner had metal. They went to the apartment above and below his, and as expected, there was metal everywhere. This miserable man has an impenetrable fortress. Without tools, it was impossible to drill through the walls. The neighbors realized that Zhang Yi must have known about the apocalypse to have built such a complex fortress. Everyone was in despair, saying that Zhang Yi was selfish and only thought of himself. Two residents looked at each other hungrily, and for a second, thought about eating each other. But it passed. One of the neighbors says he remembers that his apartment's balcony is made of glass. This idea made everyone excited again. Using wooden planks from the neighboring apartment to his, Zhang Yi sat calmly while everyone together gathered on the balcony. Unfortunately for them, the glass was bulletproof, and they couldn't even scratch it. To help them warm up because it's very cold outside, Zhang Yi took a Molotov cocktail and threw it into a hole in the wall, which soon fell from the ceiling on their heads. In the element's view, it was 1 second of terror, and then many of pain, catching fire completely. In agony, he jumped from the balcony. The fire spread, and everyone else was also protected against the cold, while Zhang Yi watched everything. The others tried to go back to the apartment next door. However, the others didn't let them, for fear of burning themselves too. They fell off the planks, and any of those who didn't fall took the opportunity to warm up a little. After a while, the repentant residents returned to his balcony in front of the glass, begging for food. As in his past life, they ate. He doesn't even feel sorry for them. Hess shows them warm pasta to see them drooling. He even puts it on a table right in front of them. Zhang Yi then told them that for whoever brings Chen Zheng's head will receive food for a week. Hearing this, everyone looked eagerly at Chen Zheng in the neighboring apartment. Even those who were behind him heard Zhang Yi's words. Killing Chen Zheng means food and drink for a week. Chen Zheng even locked the door with everyone's gaze, but before he could get closer, his men and the gun in his hand stopped him. At this point, Zhang Yi put the reward notice in the owner's group. Anyone who could kill Chen Zheng would receive a week of food. The next morning, the skinny ones were waiting to ambush their food. Even if he had a pistol, they could surprise him. Chen Zheng and his loyal followers were attacked from behind, but the result was that both were lying on the ground. The boss ordered them to be stored as food, and one of his men saw that the boss was wounded in the back in this attack. Chen Zheng called Zhou Qi to come treat his wound. Soon she was doing the dressing and said it wasn't for free. Chen Zheng says she can eat with them. Seeing what the soup everyone was about to eat was made of, she says she prefers to starve to death. Chen Zheng at least says that she would be the last person to become food in this building. Ignoring this nonsense, she tried to leave. However, Chen Zheng said that only after he was healed could she leave. She sat in the corner of the room while the men resumed discussing their plans to get Zhang Yi. Man, look at how far human beings go in extreme situations. If Chen Zheng hadn't been injured and still needed her, I bet he would force more things, you know? She, after hearing the plans, said she was going to the bathroom, but she was actually there to tell Zhang Yi what she heard. Later, Chen Zheng's men went to the neighboring apartment to get food and steal. They let them in and didn't imagine the food was for them. With a blow to the head of the couple, they killed them, but to make sure, they hit more. Chen Zheng tells our doctor that he can't have predators around his house, as they might try to hunt him down. Zhou Qi is starting to see how things are. In the house where the friends of the slutty Yu Qing are, they had to remove the arrows without any medicine. Everyone has serious infections. Maybe the cold is taking away some of the pain. Zhou Peng asks his cousin to try to convince Zhang Yi one more time, but she says it's useless. There's no way. Days go by, and Zhang Yi only eats and sees Chen Zheng afraid of being ambushed again. As he eats more and more, Zhang Yi calls Zhou Qi to ask about her situation. She says Chen Zheng went crazy. Everyone's food ran out. They're invading houses every day to kill everyone and search for food, besides keeping the dead for later. She hasn't eaten anything for days and asks if he can save her. He thinks for a moment that she's very useful for being a competent doctor. In the post-apocalyptic world, doctors are treasures. So, Zhang Yi says she can come to his house after doing one last thing. A while later, Zhou Peng goes to pound his door, desperate. He says his love, Yu Qing, is starving. He went to Zhang Yi's door, asking for food for the girl who used and rejected him. Zhang Yi also says that tetanus is already advanced in him. Medicines won't work anymore. As he walks back home, he remembers he never even held Slutty's hand. So instead of waiting for death, he ran to Yu Qing's room, kneeled down, and asked her to marry him. She, disgusted, threw him away. The loser grabbed her by the neck, saying they'd get married in hell then. She slapped him in the face, saying she belonged to Zhang Yi. Zhen Peng then says he'll have to go to hell to get her. Then we go back to Dr. Zhou Qi. She told the men she would make a decent meal for them today. They won't even notice it's not regular meat. Pleased, they thought she forgot about pride. She tells them she doesn't want to die as much as they do. After helping a little, she says she'll take care of the rest alone. Putting something in the soup and stirring well, she had to make an effort not to vomit right there. Sometime later, she served everyone. The soup looked really nice, everyone said. To gain their trust, Zhou Qi also served herself a bowl of soup and went back to her room. Hoping her medicine would take effect, she put a whole vial of sleeping pills in it, and in minutes everyone was asleep. Relieved it worked, she sent a message saying everyone was asleep. What should she do next? Zhang Yi's order is to take everyone to the balcony. He was watching everything from the other side. Feeling cold, she asks if he intends to kill them. Hearing this, he threw a rope and said, "It's more or less that. She should tie everyone to the balcony railing." She says he could at least help, but he says she's the one being tested here. Tying everyone to the railing, she grabbed Chen Zheng's gun. Worried, he warned her to remove the magazine and throw the gun at him. She even tried to bargain if she should trust him, but with the argument that it's her only choice. Zhou Qi obeyed and threw the gun at Zhang Yi. After receiving the gun, he examined it, confirming it was the same one Chen Zheng used. Then he went back to the room, grabbed a water hose, and from there, he threw water onto the balcony, without even warning Zhou Qi. She entered the apartment while the water was falling, and in a short time, Chen Zheng and everyone else woke up screaming. Looking at their hands and feet tied together, he realized he had been drugged. All he could do was curse Zhang Yi a few times. After a few sprays of water, Chen Zheng turned into a popsicle. Dr. Zhou Kier, too weak even to stand up, calls and says it's all done. After a few minutes, our beautiful doctor was at Zhang Yi's door, observing through the cameras. Even though everything has gone well so far, he wanted to make sure there were no risks. She should open the heavy door and enter while he pointed the gun. She finally entered and fell to the floor. Just the warmth inside the apartment was good enough. Approaching from behind, Zhang Yi says it's not over yet. He has to make sure they're not hiding anything from each other. He has to be sure of that, and she knows how to do it. Blushing, she knows what she has to do. Zhou Kier takes off everything and remains only in her underwear. Now that he can see she's not hiding anything, Zhang Yi says it's perfect now, leading her to the room where she must take a shower and change her dirty clothes. When he heard the sound of the shower, he took all the items from the medical kit and confiscated them. It was always better to be cautious. A pleasant time later, Zhou Kier, dressed in pajamas, came out of the bathroom, a sight that moved Zhang Yi. He asked her to sit down and dry her hair. He says he let her go because she's valuable to him. If she doesn't obey the rules, he won't show any mercy. Her room will be that one. From now on, you'll live there. Without my permission, you're not allowed to wander. She was aware of the consequences. Zhang Yi says that in this chaotic world, the best thing she did was join him. To reinforce the trust between them, Zhang Yi decides to reveal his secret and ensure Zhou Kier's loyalty. In this house, she can see that there is no food. The reason he is so prepared for everything is that he has a power nobody knows about. He took bread from the dimensional storeroom in front of her. If she betrays or kills him, she will no longer have food and will starve to death. Seeing this, he understood how Zhang Yi was living so comfortably. She ate and even cried with emotion, almost choking with such haste. Now that she is clean, without hunger or thirst, Zhou Kier will be responsible for all household chores. Before she could accept, the scoundrel interrupted, asking what else she could offer. Being an intelligent person, she knew what he wanted. Zhang Yi's eyes even widened with the sight. Besides companionship and help with the tasks, now they would be a couple. Like any couple, they would have their moment of exercise together, and our beautiful doctor, Zhou Kier, would have plenty of food. The next day, looking at Zhou Kier still sleeping, Zhang Yi says she must have been very tired from last night. Having a woman around when they can't leave the house anymore is very pleasant. She dressed, and they went to have breakfast, a life with more luxury than before the apocalypse. Zhang Yi threw one of the special cold coats to her. Going outside, Zhang Yi said she still has work to do. He handed her the baseball bat, even though she helped freeze the guys outside. Now Zhou Kier must go there and destroy the frozen bodies. Without explaining why she went there without hesitation and started to bash the popsicles. Meanwhile, Zhang Yi filmed all the hard work of the doctor. Not caring about being filmed, she continued to hammer. The purpose of the recording was to send it to the residence group and show everyone that Chen Zheng, the guy who was terrorizing everyone, is now in pieces. The people in their homes didn't even think to criticize or ask why the doctor was there. They just praised and celebrated. Pleased with how things turned out, Zhang Yi received a call from Yu Qing. Zhang Yi says he didn't know she was still alive. The girl with a crazy look says she heard about Chen Zheng's death and is now ready to be his woman, and that he must be with Zhou Kier because he thought she was dead. Her friends behind her were ready to kill the girl, and they both heard the screams from the other side. Zhang Yi took advantage of this to mess with her mind even more, sending a picture of Zhou Kier saying that she was his fiancée. When she saw the new message, she broke free from the two girls and ran to the phone, just to see Zhang Yi and his girlfriend. The girl went insane, saying that she loves Zhang Yi more than anyone. However, Zhang Yi threw it in her face that she doesn't matter, and who he loves is the one with him now, and hung up. The poor girl's friends didn't even want to hit Yu Qing anymore. Their anger was at the girl going to live with Zhang Yi and them getting screwed, but now they're screwed together. Satisfied with how much she suffered, Zhang Yi asks his little girlfriend if he was too cruel. She says that whether he was or not doesn't matter. He has his reasons. She also heard of him for the first time when she went to help the two girls, and how they seemed crazy. If Zhang Yi did what he did, it's right. A person in the building in front decided he couldn't take it anymore and decided to fulfill his dream of jumping from the building, but that didn't even impress the two. Shortly after Zhang Yi's phone rang, on the line was his uncle Yu, happy. Zhang Yi says it's great to know he's okay. He survived everything thanks to the supplies he saved from Zhang Yi's warning. Furthermore, now he is with Shi Lemei, the single mother from before. Her son is sick, and they need medicine. Of all the people, Uncle Yu was the only person Zhang Yi would help, so he told him to come get the medicine later. After telling Zhou Kier about his uncle and having his juice, someone was knocking on the door. Checking the security cameras, he saw it was his uncle and Zi Limei. That's all they had. He didn't even open the door. He threw the medicine through the opening in the door onto the floor. His uncle thanked him for the help, but the woman wanted more than that. She knows he has a fireplace and asked to come in. Her baby needs to warm up. At this point, Zhang Yi says it's screwed. He didn't want to hurt Uncle Yu, but above all, safety comes first. He lied that the coal ran out, and now he and his girlfriend have 7 or 8 coats to keep warm. Uncle didn't want to bother Zhang Yi anymore, but the woman insisted more and more on coming in because they couldn't if Zhou Qi the doctor was with him. Zhang Yi's argument was that she's engaged to him, and that's why she's here. She blushed all over, hearing that. Finally, Uncle Yu got tired of hearing it and said that's enough. Just the medicine was great, they still have food. After sending them away, Zhang Yi was even tired. This woman in his past life survived for nothing. Since this conversation tired him out, he went to rest on his girlfriend's lap and have a great view. Zhang Yi thinks that Zi Limei being around could even mess up his plans. It's no wonder that when they returned home, Uncle came to ask why she was abusing his nephew's trust. She even says it's all for the baby's best interest, but Uncle reminds her that he owes his nephew. If it weren't for him telling him to save food before the apocalypse, he would have nothing. Instead of agreeing, Zi Limei claimed that Zhang Yi didn't give medicine to help. Everything was for him to collect favors later, saying that Zhang Yi is a selfish man. Uncle, hearing this, shouted that everything has limits. He may be old, but he's not stupid. If she badmouths him again, she'll be alone. The smart woman let the subject drop. The following morning, people from another building dug a tunnel under the snow to Zhang Yi's building. Everyone they encountered was seen as enemies, and the first unlucky one received a single shot and flipped over. They were aware of the sturdy door and brought dynamite to open it. One of them lit it, ran, and the damage from the explosion was done. The absurd noise of this explosion woke Zhang Yi up, and he quickly went to check what was happening. Through the cameras, he saw construction workers who lived nearby. They came to check, certain that the explosion would destroy the door, but nothing happened. Angry at this attempt to take what he had, Zhang Yi retaliated maliciously. A grenade simply solved their cold problem. After warming them all up, Zhang Yi used his Glock and put several to sleep. His bullets were running out because his ballistic supplies were few, and this confirmed to him that people from other buildings must know about his stockpile and are coming after it too. These explosions and shots left our lovely doctor frightened. After all, there's only one place in the world where it's normal to hear these noises every day. Embarrassed, she disguised it and went to do her job. Now it was clear to Zhang Yi that he should take action. In the residents group, everyone was asking about the noise from before. Zhang Yi, smart as always, said it was residents from another building who tried to blow up his house and were soon going to rob the others, but he kicked them out of the building and some from this life. Everyone thanked Zhang Yi for this. He called his uncle to get more information. This group that came now is from building 26 and is led by someone named Huang Tianfang. The uncle's information is that he did the same thing Chen Zheng did in this building, overturned the residents, took control of the place, and also stole food. Zhang Yi made it clear to his uncle that he overturned many, so they will come back for revenge and try something, so they must unite the neighboring residents and defend themselves. Then, speaking only with Zhou Qi, Zhang Yi said that the neighbors, if given the chance, will stab him in the back. She must take on the mission of gathering information about the other buildings groups together with Uncle Yu. Only 2 days passed, and now she was dressed as a maid and reporting everything her intelligence service found out. Stop looking in the wrong place and pay attention. Zhou Qi explains that the strongest groups dominating the neighborhood are the group from building 26 that came here 2 days ago, and another group from building 21. Still, a group from 2 other buildings must have strength, but they haven't done anything yet. With just this, Zhang Yi deduced that the residents of the other buildings have already turned on each other instead of uniting and are no longer a threat. Grateful for the good work, he tells her to continue collecting information, and for some reason, she blushes, perhaps thinking something else would happen. The same group from building 26 returned to the building, and this time they started overturning people from the other apartments in the building and left the message that until Zhang Yi leaves, all the building's residents will die. Soon, this news spread and disrupted our couple's exercise. The building's residents were demanding that Zhang Yi take action. Seeing this, that anger returned. He sent texts and audio messages saying that everyone's life means nothing to him, and they must defend themselves alone. Shortly after, Zhang Yi called his uncle, saying that now it's his turn to shine. In the building group, he said that the gang from building 26 is only 20 people. If they join forces, they can fight against them. Speaking, everyone agreed that they had to do it. He also said in the chat that he hasn't been eating well for days. The only one who is young, strong, and well-fed is Zhang Yi. He is the only one with the strength to lead everyone. With this, Zhang Yi sent a message in the chat that he can help everyone face the rival building as long as everyone follows his orders. Everyone said they accept following orders that don't endanger their lives. Calm in his home, eating better than us. Zhang Yi says they'll have to take the risks. Yes. Otherwise, they should just wait for the group from building 26 to come and kill everyone. With Uncle Yu on one side encouraging them to agree to follow Zhang Yi, they accepted to obey. To motivate the hungry, he mentioned that there are vehicles that can travel outside in the snow. If they confront the group from Building 26, he can fetch food for them. All the neighbors agreed to obey everything, even the most dangerous things, hoping not to be killed by the neighbors, and mainly to gain food. Now everyone agrees to put Zhang Yi as the leader of the building. Now that everyone sees him as a savior, Zhang Yi will make his first exploration outside. With his special cold vests and clothes, he won't have any problems. When Jo Kier was about to say she would go with him, Zhang Yi said no. She should never leave the apartment, and he trusts her 100% to stay here without him. But as soon as he leaves, the scoundrel snaps his fingers and makes all the supplies in the apartment disappear. He descends to the 4th floor of the building, and through a window there, he manages to jump outside. So, the snow is already 4 stories high. Anyone who tries to walk here, ignoring the cold, would sink into the snow somewhere and perish. Fortunately, he had stored a snowmobile in his dimensional space. Someone in one of the buildings saw the scene. I don't know if they saw him pulling a snowmobile out of nowhere or just saw him riding it. Sometime later, he reached where he wanted to go, the Tianhui City Police Station. Breaking the glass, he entered without difficulty. His goal is to get more weapons and ammunition. Deeper into the police station, he found the officers on duty, without warm clothes or heaters. The first night of freezing was the last for them. Zhang Yi shows his respect for the officers and says they were once the heroes who protected the city. As he covers the bodies, he finds the keys to the place. With them, he can open everything here, even the weapons room. Upon entering the place, it's heaven for many people. There are all kinds of weapons and ammunition to choose from. He just put everything into his dimensional loot space. Zhang Yi says that now he needs to get food for his cannon fodder. He returns to his snowmobile and walks to where the shopping mall should be. Digging into the ground, he found the ceiling of the place. Breaking the glass and walking through the place, he stole everything that could be useful. In the supermarket, all the fruits were frozen solid by the cold, as were the meats, but this would serve those who don't even have land to eat. He threw into the bags what could be salvaged and returned to his snowmobile. Upon returning to his building, the leader of Building 26, watching him manage to go out and get food, was green with envy and eager to steal that snowmobile. Furthermore, all the residents of the building who heard the noise of the snowmobile also saw it. Uncle Yu saw that his nephew managed to return with more food. He was delighted. Zhang Yi made it clear to everyone that it was extremely difficult to go outside in such cold weather and find food buried in the snow. Uncle Yu shouted, calling Zhang Yi a hero. With this spoiled food and the gun in hand, he ordered that everyone who chooses to take food must be ready to obey his orders. The residents of Building 26, as expected, came after, saying to hand over the food or their lives. His first order was that right now, they will steal their food, go there and eliminate them. Everyone who makes a kill will receive food for 5 days. Just hearing that they could get 5 days worth of food, everyone went crazy and attacked the gang member from Building 26. They couldn't understand how the weak and fearful people suddenly went so crazy. They were overwhelmed. Zhang Yi and his fiancée watched everyone defeat the enemies and celebrate their victory. Some who survived fled back to Building 26. And the wounded on our side, Jo Kier knew she could save them, but she knew she would need to spend medicines and food just out of kindness. She also gave up because she knew Zhang Yi wouldn't allow it. I ask here now, do you think Zhang Yi is a villain or just an anti-hero, or, I don't know, just does what it takes to survive? Because from now on, he starts to use all people in a very cunning way. He gathers everyone and congratulates them. Those who were MVP and had the most kills received their bonuses. This was premeditated to encourage everyone to strive for him. One by one, they obeyed the guy with a gun in hand and owner of the food. No one had happiness on their faces. But when it was the turn of someone Zhang Yi saw slacking off, he scorned and kicked a candy to him. He complained that this wasn't fair because he would only receive that. Zhang Yi questioned if he had the courage to complain still. The guy did nothing and just stayed behind, shouting and attacking. Those who received less food and were sad are now happy to know that there are worse off people. Trying to argue, Shu Hao said there were many people fighting and he couldn't find a way to join the fight. Zhang Yi made it clear he didn't care. Only results matter. Angrily, Shu Hao insisted that Zhang Yi was treating him specially. So Zhang Yi gave the order and 2 neighbors held the discontented guy. He just shouted, asking what happens to those who disobey the boss's orders. After making it clears what happens to those who complain, the guy taken as an example had the candy in his hand. Zhang Yi stepped on it, grabbed the candy and the poor guy's hair, and made it clear that work equals food. No work equals no food. He ordered Jo Kier to store the rest of the supplies, since everyone had taken their shares. In the middle of the crowd, he heard a familiar voice. Fang Yu Qing and her bloodsucker friend were dragging themselves underneath. They said they hadn't gotten their food yet, and if Big Brother Zhang Yi hadn't forgotten about them, Zhang Yi, humble as always, said he hadn't forgotten about them. Jo Kier stored the food, because there wasn't enough for the 2 of them. Fang Yu Qing, crying, asked why he didn't like her anymore after all these years. With a slap, he told her to get away. He never liked her, and is now engaged to the wonderful Jo Kier. One of the women said that she was a gold-digging slut. Zhang Yi agreed agreed, saying she always deceived rich boys to take their money. The guy, who had just been humiliated, said she had used him many times before. Then the other men said that if they had known she was selling herself before the apocalypse, they would have taken advantage too. After being humiliated so much, she fled. For some reason, 2 men grabbed the bloodsucker friend and dragged her somewhere else. By their expression and covering her mouth, I imagine they went to feed her. For her, Xu Hao, for telling about Fang Yuqing, received something better to eat, and now swore he would do better for the master. After the show, Zhang Yi began to organize the building's fortification. In the building, there are 47 people in total. Now, excluding Zhang Yi, Zhou Qi, Uncle Yu, and his wife, Shi Li Mei, the people form 6 groups of 7 people each, and take turns guarding the building's stairs, 24 hours a day. When enemies arrive, they should shout, make noise, and alert everyone. Uncle Yu, being a former army veteran, will organize all the groups. Back in the comfort of home, Zhang Yi was studying something, and Zhou Qi asked, if it starts to snow now, what will happen? As he took his weapons out of the dimensional loot storage, he said, they're in winter. They'll be stuck for at least a month until the snow melts. Besides, in the apocalypse, the biggest danger isn't the weather, but people. Now, with this weapon, he has a chance to fight enemies without leaving home. He noticed through the scope of the weapon that some people were heading to the garage of his building. They're definitely going after the snowmobile that Zhang Yi pretends to leave there, but actually puts in the loot storage. Uncle Yu called Zhang Yi, saying the defense team was properly organized and asking not to take seriously what Xi Limei said last time they went to get medicine. She's a chatterbox after all. Zhang Yi said he didn't care, but asked if Uncle wanted to raise someone else's child. In difficult times, strong men are very valuable, and he could get any woman he wanted. But realizing Uncle's discomfort, Zhang Yi said Xi Limei is also a good woman, and if that's the case, he should knock her up too. However, Uncle said that in an apocalypse, one shouldn't think about that, and now he'll go back to work. Zhang Yi told Zhou Qi that these matters of children should be thought about calmly. In the tunnel they dug, some people from Building 26 came back secretly, planning to make hidden thefts. The first of them almost got a beating. The guard shouted enemy attack, and a brawl started on the stairs. The group from Building 26 didn't count on the fact that now Zhang Yi's building was so well protected, and the survivors fled. Outside, enjoying the good life, Zhang Yi saw the enemies fleeing and said he was really in the mood to shoot some, taking his WAP from the loot storage. Through the scope, he could see perfectly, with an absurd calmness, even knowing the result of pulling the trigger. One of the fugitives got a shot right in the head, and the others, realizing what it was, ran even more frantically. Zhang Yi thought to himself, this feeling is great, and decided to enjoy it more. All the shots were precise, aiming at the head and the clock. With 7 capsules on the ground, there were 7 bodies in the snow. With this, he was sure he had sent a message to all the neighbors of the buildings. Zhang Yi, leader of Building 25, has a rifle, and there's no way to confront him. Now they must follow his orders. The next day, Zhou Qi brought food, saying she was practicing her cooking. Additionally, she asked about the noise on the balcony last night. Without hiding anything, Zhang Yi said he shot and killed 7 people. The woman's reaction was simply to say that Zhang Yi is amazing. Zhang Yi even asked if she wasn't curious why he used an AWP to do it. Zhou Qi said it's none of her business, and it doesn't matter what he did. She's with him, and it's better than dying outside. In other words, she doesn't care what he does to others outside. Zhang Yi even praised her, saying she's smart and doesn't have unnecessary curiosities, and he likes that. Meanwhile, on the other side, residents of Building 26 looked at the bodies in the snow. One of them is related to the boss, worried because they didn't get any food and now lack men to carry out their plans. Tianfang got irritated and ordered to bring the bodies of David, his relative, and the others to have more food. Meanwhile, Zhang Yi decided to go out for another round. Everyone respects him now, and of course, they're very scared. With headphones on and Uncle Yu on the line, Zhang Yi is now sure the building is safe. Meanwhile, the leader of Building 26 could only stew in bitterness. If he could get that motorcycle, he could go out to get cigarettes and food. Those who went before to look for the motorcycle didn't find it in the parking lot and were shot. Zhang Yi rode the motorcycle until he reached where he wanted to go, the district of machines and imported cars. The warehouses were so large that they hadn't been covered by snow yet. Breaking the roof, he descended with a rope and put everything in his infinite loot storage warehouse. Now these luxury cars have no value, but at some point, they might. The next step was to go to a gas station. He needs it for his generators and machines, including his snowmobile. Unfortunately, for him, the station was completely buried in snow. It was impossible to dig 10 meters. Frustrated that his plans didn't work out for the first time, he threw himself into the snow and thought about how good it would be to have gasoline for all his stored machines. It was thinking about that he remembered he also had a giant excavator stored. With the little fuel he has, he can dig and dig in the snow. It didn't take take long until he managed to clear a path to the gas station. Inside the place are the warehouse tanks of the station. Luckily, the fuel isn't frozen. All he needed to do was seal the tanks and store them intact in his loot storage space. For a moment, he realizes that with this and his excavator, he can dig and retrieve everything buried, and no one will be able to stop him. Meanwhile, in the building, a neighbor's child had a high fever. Jokir went to attend to the child, but couldn't do much because Zhang Yi always keeps the medicines. Uncle Yu brought leftover medicine from his girlfriend Zila Mei's son. He comforted the mother that everything will be fine. The child's fever decreased. However, Jokir reminded the mother to keep an eye on his condition. They had barely stepped away when they heard a scream. Aunt Lin attacked the baby, and in the impulse to protect her son, the mother intervened and got shot. Jokir managed to grab the baby for a few seconds. Aunt Lin went crazy, saying that because they didn't help her grandson, he didn't survive, so no one has the right to have children here anymore. The lovely Jokir, determined to save the child, ran with him through the stairs. Aunt Lin managed to grab the doctor's leg. Like the mother, she protected the child with her body. Aunt Lin was determined to kill everything in her path. Uncle Yu kicked Aunt Lin and threw her down the stairs. He arrived just in time to save the boss's wife. He wouldn't forgive himself for failing to keep everything safe in his absence. Aunt Lin was furious with all of them. Uncle Yu made it clear that Zhang Yi eliminated Chen Zheng, and that's why everyone is safe. Additionally, Jokir recounted that after Chen Zheng was gone, she begged Zhang Yi to give medicine to her grandson. However, when she went to deliver it, she found out that Aunt Lin herself had killed her grandson to eat him, leaving the old woman screaming in denial. The men who came with Uncle Yu said that she must pay for her evil deeds, and they can help. According to them, fat burns well, and it's been a long time since they had a good bonfire. Returning to Zhang Yi, outside the house, he slept in a tent at the gas station, and now he's going out for more exploration. With his excavator, he went to the city's military post, and by digging, he gained access to the military base. However, all the military supplies were taken. All he thought was that the military leaders, with all the equipment, are the ones who will try to take power from the surviving society. If that's the case, he should arm himself to protect himself even from these people. While digging for something else, he broke a wall of the camp. To our surprise, not everything was taken by the army. An absurd amount of weapons and ammunition in this place went straight to his loot storage. After so long away, he returned home on his snowmobile, and this time without bringing back food. The neighbors noticed he was without food and immediately started complaining. Zhang Yi countered that even for a whole day this time, he couldn't find anything. But if they want, they can go back to having to go outside to find their food and not follow him anymore, and he calls them ungrateful. Zhang Yi realized that by not bringing back food for one day, they felt unfairly treated because his work of defending the building wasn't being paid off. Even though he said the discussion was over, some of the residents approached, suggesting that he could take some of them next time to search, and that way, he could rest more. Not only Zhang Yi, but we didn't even notice this strange guy with a hand hidden behind his back. Zhang Yi made a hand gesture, and the next moment, the rebel took a hit to the head and fell to the ground. The others who were with him apologized, but Zhang Yi made it clear that there is no forgiveness. He shot everyone, and at least 4 of them went to sleep. The rest fled through the window. The noise caught the attention of Uncle Yu and Jokir, who ran there worriedly. He simply said that they were traitors, and he responded with mercy. Uncle Yu simply said they were so comfortable they forgot their place. Zhang Yi then went home, as if what happened now didn't matter at all. Zhe Mei stayed there, thinking that this mercy he mentioned is just to warn others. With no one questioning what happened, they go home while Zhang Yi thinks his cannon fodder is running out. In the comfortable home, Zhang Yi asked Jokir if anything had happened while he was away. She recounted that Aunt Lin had gone crazy due to her grandson's death and attacked a mother, but that was already resolved. Additionally, someone from another building called Chen Lingyu wanted to discuss something with Zhang Yi, but she didn't say the specific details, just that she wanted to cooperate with him. Not knowing what this person could offer, Zhang Yi didn't care. He has everything he needs, and those people outside can only wait to die of cold and hunger. Curious if he was just going to ignore the woman's request, he asked for his information, and what Jokir knows about this person is that Chen Lingyu owned a cosmetics company and now completely controls Building 9. The only surprise to Zhang Yi for this is how a woman had the power to take control of an entire building. Out of curiosity, Jokir says he should talk to this woman, so he already had messages from her and the leader of another building on his phone. He went straight to Chen Ling to ask what she wanted. She wanted to speak by voice, and Zhang Yi immediately said he didn't have the patience to speak. It will be by text. On the other end of the line, Chen Ling only thought that this person who took down Building 26 has a snowmobile and a rifle is tough. She says they heard about him and know he has a snowmobile. He asks what they have to offer. Basically, there's 76 workers who can use his snowmobile snowmobile to search for food too. In summary, she wants the snowmobile and for him to provide food for them beforehand, so they have the strength to search more with his snowmobile, and he should know that soon all the people in the neighborhood could turn against him, so it's smart to have allies. Discontented now, he asked what happens if he refuses. He had never seen beggars ask for food with threats. Chen Ling was calm and made it clear that currently, Zhang Yi is a target for all the neighboring buildings. It's only a matter of time before everyone unites to attack them all together if he doesn't cooperate. In this situation, he asked for time to think about it, hanging up the phone as he looked at the other buildings. He knew his home was impenetrable, but if everyone united, they could bring down his building in an extreme situation. While he was thinking of a way out, another person was calling him on the phone now. This time it was Li Jian, who also asked to cooperate. His building 18 had been pacified, and everyone cooperated with each other, distributing resources among themselves, and his focus is on maintaining people's humanity. He is willing to help building 25 to enter into conflict with the others, and any service he has, in exchange for just a few supplies. Zhang Yi asked Jokir what things are like in building 18. Her information is that she indicated that Li Jian unified all the residents of the building after the apocalypse, but his resources for so many people wouldn't last long. He replied that he needed to think too. Soon he saw that several other people had messaged him. Zhang Yi went to Jokir to show that he might have to kill them all. At this moment, the doctor's mind was that she made the right choice in joining Zhang Yi. This time he asked his girlfriend for advice, but the strange thing is that at the same time, he put the Jubilee on the line and asked what was better, to cooperate or to destroy them all. Then she couldn't even answer properly because she couldn't concentrate. You know what I mean. Sometime later, he asked her to cut a bulletproof vest for him to put on his legs. His plan now was as follows. In the group of residents of his building, he told them that the neighbors threatened him to hand over the snowmobile, or they will attack the building. If he does that, everyone in the building will have to go look for their own food from now on. Soon, everyone turned against and ready to follow Zhang Yi to go against the other buildings. It didn't take long for Zhang Yi to be placed in a new group, with only the leaders of the neighboring buildings. There, they made it clear that if Zhang Yi refuses to follow all the terms, they will become public enemies of all the buildings. They made all the demands, letting everything happen as they wanted. He had the brilliant idea, decided to cooperate, and set up a meeting with all the leaders. His idea was to eliminate all the leaders. The rest of the residents, without leaders, won't be able to organize against him. With a meeting place set, he went down, arranged with his followers from the building, and to encourage everyone, he gave them quality food, saying they need to be strong and energized to defend their home. One of them asked if they could hope for peace. Zhang Yi says not only that, but if everything goes well, there won't be any more food problems for anyone here. Motivated, everyone is now idolizing their savior and willing to do anything for him. Exiting through the tunnel and not through the windows, Zhang Yi and all the residents went to the designated place. Even from afar, he noticed something strange. There were so many people here, so he ordered Uncle Yu and the rest of the residents to come too, and he will stay behind hidden with his rifle. At the negotiation field, Uncle Yu and the residents stood in front of all the leaders of the neighboring buildings and their groups. One of ours said they didn't seem to want to negotiate. The other completes saying, they seem more like they want to destroy them. With so many of them attacking each other, they wouldn't stand a chance. However, Uncle Yu stated that their goal is to make Zhang Yi cooperate. Attacking us wouldn't help with that. The building owners of 26, 5, 21, 9, and 18 were confident Zhang Yi might be intimidating, but against so many people, he doesn't have the power to face them all. One of them says he doesn't see Zhang Yi, so he must be scared after seeing our numbers. The situation is totally in their favor. Tianfeng shouts for him to show up soon for negotiation. Uncle Yu warns that the leader will only meet with the leaders, so they should come this way. Chen Ling and the others disagree, and ask if they aren't afraid of death. Realizing how things were going, Zhang Yi called Uncle Yu, warning them to stay away from the other groups. Uncle Yu, clever as always, told them to wait a moment and had his group retreat. With this distance, Zhang Yi whistled to get everyone's attention. In the open field, nobody knew exactly where Zhang Yi was, nor where the grenade he threw into the midst of the other building groups came from. Behind the leaders, a massive explosion occurred, resulting in a hole where everyone nearby was obliterated. Uncle Yu put the phone on speaker behind the leaders and asked if they had any questions for him. Wang Cheng, in shock, asked why so much violence. Zhang Yi questioned over the phone why more than 1,000 people for a negotiation. Already heading back into his building, he said there were 5 minutes left until the appointed time. If they didn't agree to come talk to him at building 25, it was over. Chen Ling spoke for everyone that they would accept it. Already in one of the apartments, Zhang Yi was content. With just one blast, more than 20 people were gone. This will convince him, and now he only has 20 of them left. Sometime later, all the leaders rushed up the stairs of the building to reach the designated place. As there are no elevators, they are all tired. He only asked if everyone was there, confirming that they were. The meeting began. The residents in the room calmly laid out their conditions as before, of how he should cooperate. Unsatisfied with this, he drew his Glock and placed it on the table. Instantly, everyone was shocked, so Zhang Yi said it was just bothering him on his waist. Continue. None of them wanted to ignore this, and said said that if they flip, the others will join forces against him. Thus, Zhang Yi took the lead in the discussion. First point, he doesn't agree with their demands. Providing food for so many people is impossible for him. The most he can give is 10 meals per day for each building. How they use them is up to them. Chen Ling was indignant. This is too little. Only in her building, there are 76 people. Zhang Yi then made it clear. It's either this or war. With no way out, Tianfang took the lead, saying that Chen Ling doesn't represent everyone. They want to accept, but it won't convince everyone to cooperate if they're left without food. Zhang Yi cocked his Glock, asking if this is really too little for them. Li Jiam, the most peaceful of all, took the lead, saying he wants to talk. It's always better than a shot to the head. At this point, Zhang Yi put his foot on the table, saying that food isn't infinite. Even if they search, they'll eventually run out. He pulled a bunch of seeds out of his pocket and threw them on the table. His point is, they should start planting food to be able to make their own food. Tianfang quickly questioned, what sense does it make to try to plant in the ice? Using his Glock, he pointed out, there's land under the snow, water won't be lacking. His condition is that all buildings must put their men to dig and plant every day, and in return, he will give 10 meals to each building. Moreover, he can provide medicines, drinks, and cigarettes. Upon hearing cigarettes, the two smokers forgot everything and said they accept everything if they can take a drag. Zhang Yi took out a closed wallet from his magic pocket and gave it to them to try. While they smoke, he stands aside, asking if they agree. Every day they can get a box of cigarettes. Li Jiam wanted to say something, but the smokers stepped in front and said they accept everything he said. They just need to be able to smoke every day. The rest of the three leaders are yet to respond, intimidated by the person with the Glock in hand and who has already convinced two of the leaders. One of the leaders pressured the others to accept. The two are already on his side and now want to please him, as much as the others want to discuss better. The two don't give an opening. Meanwhile, Zhang Yi goes to the window and notices that the residents of the buildings are starting to move. His reaction then is to move his Glock to the leaders and ask, what's this? Wang Qian, who was already bought, affirmed that all the leaders are here. There's no reason for anyone to attack them. Li Jian then says that if they are attacking, it's on their own accord. Zhang Yi shouts for the others to come in. Everyone here in the room is trapped here. Meanwhile, Zhang Yi takes out his rifle, and somehow no one saw his magic happen. With his scope, he identifies who's leading the others into rebellion. With a perfect shot, the leaders were knocked out, one after the other. Zhang Yi knocked down everyone who was taking the lead. The leaders sitting in the room were terrified to hear what was happening. A few minutes later, and Zhang Yi was calm, saying the situation was resolved, asking if everyone is okay with the negotiation. Soon the two smokers said yes. The rest who didn't want to accept were forced to accept. The last was the honest Li Jin. Now that everyone agrees, tomorrow afternoon they will start. Leaving the room, he patted Li Qian's things and asked him to do a good job. Meanwhile, he will keep an eye on them. Leaving the building, all the leaders seemed nervous, so the residents were curious about what happened. Zhang Yi tells them how he controlled the situation, but had to make a deal to provide about 300 meals for them every day. Not content with this, because why should he give so much food? Zhang Yi uses this. According to him, if it weren't for this, they should fight against over 1,000 neighboring motors, which would certainly lead to many deaths here, and he could not accept that, so he resigned to so much food for their well-being. Now all the residents of Building 25 cried with so much emotion. Zhang Yi is the only one who could lead and take care of everyone so well. Everyone left. Only Uncle Yu stayed there. The old man, embarrassed, says that things didn't happen as he imagined they would. Zhang Yi took Uncle to a more private place, and there told the truth. The plan was to eliminate the leaders of all the apartments at once, but only the 5 most influential leaders were sent, so the plan was postponed. If the 5 leaders had been knocked out, the others would take their place and be more motivated to destroy Building 25. Uncle Yu now, yes, understood why there wasn't so much destruction. Now it's because there will be later. He understood and was impressed at how his nephew is so good at calculating things. Now it's a matter of time. The other residents will weaken as the days go by working. 300 meals alone will make them destroy themselves from within, not fight for the little food they will receive. Zhang Yi made it clear to Uncle not to tell anyone about this. Returning to his luxury home, his wife was doing yoga. What a difficult life they have. After so much work, Jokir wanted to know how the negotiations went. His response was that in the next few days, all he has to do is this. He threw her on the bed and said she shouldn't leave the house for the next few days. Be prepared. After a hot night, the next day it was very cold outside, but still everyone was put to digging as promised. Their mission is to reach the ground 10 meters below the snow to plant. He just passed by to make sure everything was being done, then went far away to get his snowmobile. The other 2 leaders said they searched and couldn't find his snowmobile anywhere. Where could he hide it? Zhang Yi's goal today was to find a veterinary clinic. There he knew he could find the poison they use to euthanize animals that are beyond saving, he said. With this amount he has here, he could knock out 300 people since they won't be able to find treatment. He knows that when the time is right, he will use it. Returning home, he made sure to gather plenty of supplies for his building beforehand. Everyone was impressed at how much he got this time. With a phone call, he notified the other buildings to come pick up their share of the deal. The leaders sent 3 3 people from each building for this, perhaps out of fear of being ambushed. Little by little, the 30 neighboring buildings picked up their first day of meals, and everyone was happy to start seeing food. As he left, he heard the workers saying they were tired from today's hard work, but it was worth it. So without a plan, things are going well. Returning to his comfortable home, his abode was always tidy, and he had everything he needed there, even a hot shower every day. Meanwhile, in the other buildings, Wang Qian saw his subordinate arrive, and the first thing he checked was if there were cigarettes. Everyone behind him quickly expressed that they were suffocating and would die if they didn't get a smoke. Soon, everyone was relaxed, and only then did they think about food. He allowed everyone to start eating, but he didn't calm down until he was sure the food wasn't poisoned. His group was confident they had food, but the other workers in the building were waiting for their share, which never came. That night, the protagonist left his bath peacefully and heard the neighborhood arguments over food distribution while he and his wife were stuffing themselves. The next day, everyone was digging, and as the protagonist prepared for his daily round, he left a warning to be courteous due to the food shortages, causing disputes. After that, he went out on his snowmobile to find more food. After a few hours, he returned with even less food. Zhang Yi told everyone that the search for supplies outside was unpredictable and that they should be content with what they had. His plan was to further accelerate internal conflicts. That same day, the buildings reached the point of throwing residents out to have fewer mouths to feed. While many were falling into chaos, he was cozy at home, listening to music and preparing his equipment. The next day, he saw the result. Dozens of people thrown out, with the buildings bearing the marks of the disputes. Some asked if they had to dig today too. Zhang Yi coldly walked among the bodies, saying that if they didn't want to end up like those people, then yes. Soon, everyone rushed to dig in the snow, which Zhang Yi observed. But Uncle Yu noted that few people had come to work today. Of course, sir. Look how many people are down. Only Zhang Yi's team was here today, but tomorrow that would change. It was a message to all the neighborhood residents. Those who didn't work wouldn't get food or cigarettes. The next day, the number of people working was almost normal. Uncle Yu questioned why so many people had returned to work when they knew there wouldn't be enough food for everyone. Zhang Yi implied that they were here to get food anyway, and the bodies from the previous day were slowly disappearing. As he was leaving, Chen Ling approached him to talk. She was dirty and worried, wanting to discuss the current chaos. If things continued like this, with so little food, the residents would end up killing each other. She suggested that the two of them could think of a scientific way to solve the food problem for everyone. They could even consider expanding their territory. If they joined forces, they could create a kingdom in this end of the world. Zhang Yi's look turned malicious. He accused her of trying to deceive people to gain power, and said that because of how she operated, many in her building were dead. Her previous negotiation tactics wouldn't work with him. Zhang Yi pushed her away, saying that people like her die early and that she shouldn't count on him for anything. All that was left for her was to beg him to change his mind and make her his right-hand person. Strangely, despite everything, there were no casualties in Li Jian's building. Everyone was alive and working. Curious about how this was possible, Zhang Yi went to Li Jian to ask how he managed to keep everyone alive and cooperating. The protagonist was insinuating that he was doing something to hide the truth. All the blocks were internally at war over food. Li Jian's response was simple. He said he hadn't hidden anything from his people, let them all know about the deal, and distributed the little food they received equally. Zhang Yi joked that the result of this was everyone starving equally, satisfied with knowing. He was about to leave, but Li Jian asked him to wait. He said that Zhang Yi could help his residents. Zhang Yi then suggested that with Li Jian's leadership skills, he could choose only the strongest from his group and have more food. Instead, Li Jian preferred to maintain his honesty and try to protect everyone. In the end, they would all starve together. He left poor Li Jian alone with doubts about whether it was right to think of oneself and abandon others to stay alive. Zhang Yi went to the two corrupt leaders who had no complaints about the food they were receiving. He told them that if they needed anything, they could ask him. In his shadow, one could see who our protagonist truly was. He sympathized with those taking advantage of others and belittled those trying to help everyone and be honest. Other building leaders approached the protagonist later, asking to have the benefits that Wang Qian and Tianfang had, only cigarettes. Everyone who was doing well with the little food that was coming wanted to have something to smoke too. He said that from tomorrow, everyone would be under his care too, and dismissed the men. Other neighbors questioned Zhang Yi, asking why they felt entitled to ask for more things. The protagonist left, saying that certain people could earn more than others, planting a sense of jealousy among the other residents too. Returning home, he lay on his sofa and said it was just a matter of time. Things were going as he had planned, and soon everyone would be lying in the snow like the others. Now he had to put the second part of his plan into action. Early the next day, he went in search of food. This time, he made sure to get plenty for everyone. With hunger spreading, he used the poison he had saved beforehand. The plan was going going very well. Would the leaders not turn against him at some point? They shouldn't accept being dominated by one person. They must be plotting something. Although his absolute power of possessing various weapons made it impossible for them to go against him, Zhang Yi decided it was time to strike. Returning home with much more food than before, he asked his Uncle Yu and the others to be there to protect him. This time, the leaders came to get their meals. The look of the leaders with whom he had more contact seemed strange. When it was the turn of Building 21, Zhang Yi turned his back to get the food and was surprised. They shouted to attack and drew their weapons. Shots rang out, and someone stepped forward to protect Zhang Yi. Caught off guard, it was the only person he trusted who stepped in front to save him from the shots. Soon, neighbors from other buildings approached to finish the job, confident that he was unarmed. One of them tried to hit him from behind. Not bothering to hide his skills, he simply pulled out a CS machine gun and started firing indiscriminately. No matter the absurd number of people, nothing could resist a nervous trigger finger. The group of traitors tried to run when they lost hope of toppling the protagonist, but even though many were running, they were all toppled with shots to the head. When the ammunition ran out, he pulled out 2 more pistols. Leaders Wang and Tianfang begged, saying they were not accomplices. However, forgiveness comes from God. The last one left was Chen Ling, and she said she really had nothing to do with it. And it might be true. She also revealed that she had a 13-year-old daughter to take care of. Without mercy, Zhang Yi shot her in the forehead. After taking down everyone, now perhaps with some real guilt, he said he was sorry, but he couldn't let the tigers return alive. Behind him, a sea of bodies. To the protagonist's surprise, someone was alive. Uncle Yu. He took an adrenaline injection from the warehouse, applying it to his chest. 2 people from Building 25 were hiding. He shouted for them to help, and they carried Uncle Yu to Zokir. On the way, Zilime saw her injured boyfriend and became worried. Why was he like this? What if he dies? How will she survive? The fact that the woman was only thinking about how she would lose her benefits made the protagonist angry, so much so that he told her to shut up and not worry. The woman's reaction changed. If old Yu doesn't survive, she won't be able to survive alone without protection. She says that if her love dies, he must take care of their child, because she will die too. Zhang Yi, not quite understanding why she was already jumping to conclusions that he won't survive. Does she perhaps want him not to survive? Silime starts crying, screaming that no, her husband must live. Tired of hearing her, Zhang Yi goes after Uncle. In the woman's mind, Uncle Yu is her winning ticket to a good life, and she can't let him slip away. At the doorstep, he tells them all to go back to their homes, but the woman insists that her husband needs her by his side at this moment. Out of consideration for Uncle, who genuinely likes the woman, he thinks about it and lets her stay. As he opens the door to his house, the color of things even changes. The air is warm, and Shilime cries tears of joy. This is the place she has been dreaming of living in for so long. While Zhang Yi and Zokir bring Uncle inside, Zilime goes to the kitchen and helps herself to something to drink without asking permission, which surprises our couple. Soon the woman returns, all happy, asking if he has powdered milk, immediately arousing anger in Zhang Yi. She then says it's for the baby. Uncle Yu really likes the baby. The protagonist now makes it clear that the focus is on Uncle Yu. He goes to a different room in the house and retrieves a hospital stretcher from the dimensional warehouse. Zilime wonders if she just witnessed him perform a magic trick, but he ignores her, asking Zokir if she needs any additional equipment or medicines, anything necessary to save Uncle. Zokir removes Uncle's shirt. The bullet's location indicates internal organ damage. In these medical conditions, saving Uncle seems impossible. Upon hearing Zilime, he starts screaming and crying. Angry, he points at her, warning that if she interferes again, there will be serious consequences. She stops and says it's better for her to leave the room. In her mind, there's so much food and clean, warm water here. Who would want to stay in this room just looking around? Realizing her intention, the protagonist steps in and makes it clear. She will stay here and help. She only entered because her presence is important to Uncle. She will only leave this room when Zokir is finished. He leaves the women at home and rushes down to the first floor of the building, calling all the residents. They've been betrayed, and Uncle Yu might not survive. Now they must strike. Most neighbors are against it. The other buildings house over 1,000 people, and they are few. Zhang Yi points out that they should only watch outside. Anyone leaving the buildings will be attacked, and the rest inside, hiding within the buildings, he will take care of. Those who do not participate will be considered traitors, facing consequences similar to the dead bodies outside. There are warm clothes here for them. Soon the group arrives at the door of Building 21. Residents on the upper floors realize that Zhang Yi is leading their residents. Some who knew Zhang Yi could wield weapons could only stand paralyzed with fear. Most only had melee weapons, and he could magically produce a machine gun and mow them all down. The brave ones are confident that they are safe in the building. Zhang Yi puts everyone to watch the exits and windows, and he enters Building 21. Arriving in the lobby, he gathers a bunch of wood and clothes from his storage dimension, places them in the lobby, and then pours gasoline over everything, connecting all the wood and clothes with trails of gasoline. He then lights his lighter and, being all witty, says he'll be kind and help them warm up in this extreme cold. He throws the lighter into the gasoline. The flames quickly spread through the lobby, and he calmly leaves the scene. Smoke billowed up the floors through the building stairs. Everyone on the upper floors felt terror, screaming to open the windows, or they would suffocate with the smoke. However, many in their homes found that the extreme cold had frozen the windows. Without tools, they couldn't break them. The protagonist calmly exited Building 21, pointing to the building behind him, now emitting smoke, and said, "The rest of you handle it now. Don't let anyone escape." As the flames grew, many couldn't bear the heat and chose to jump, landing in the snow below. Even if they didn't perish from burns, the fall shattered their spine. One woman had no pity for them as they crawled and caught fire. She simply buried her knife in them. Not even the men around her had such cold-bloodedness. The boyfriend, somewhat nervous, asked if she was okay. When the woman turned, she seemed like a sweet angel, saying that this was work. When anyone else fell and didn't die from the fall damage, she went there and helped the poor soul not suffer anymore. In a few minutes, the entire Building 21 was eliminated. Afterwards, Zhang Yi led his people to Building 26, led by Tianfang. The residents panicked upon seeing what happened to Building 21. When they arrived, the residents shouted that they were not supporting Tianfang and were innocent. Laughing, Zhang Yi said it didn't matter. They were all going to burn. A little while later, this building also met the same fate, and along with it, 5 other buildings were heated against the cold. His thought was that it was enough for one night. He told the residents of another building not to worry. He knew who the truly innocent ones were, and they would be fine. Some saw hope and were happy, but many others shouted that he must be tired after burning down 5 buildings. Ignoring the shouts, he gave the order that it was enough for today. After enduring the cold for so long, his people said they would stay outside and warm themselves by the fire. Even the fuel for the fire was from there. Then, he went to the bodies of the 2 who were most loyal to him. It didn't make sense for him to betray them, because they had always been treated well. Curious as to why he took their cell phones to investigate, looking at the conversations, he understood why. After dealing with the buildings involved in the rebellion, Zhang Yi returned home to see Uncle Yu. The steady rhythm of the heart rate monitor indicated that Uncle Yu was out of danger. He happily said that Zhokir was indeed the best surgeon in the city. As they talked, Zeli approached, asking for something for her and her baby to eat. Looking disdainfully, he took out a packet of instant noodles from nowhere and threw it on the ground, saying he wouldn't let her starve, of course. But the woman didn't leave it at that and said that wasn't enough. In the kitchen, she saw there were eggs and chicken. At that moment, Zhang Yi almost exploded with anger. Even Zhokir was shocked by the woman's audacity. In the apocalypse, complaining about free food, the protagonist, irritated, said it was just instant noodles, or she wouldn't eat anything. After that, he left with his girlfriend. They returned to the room. The tired Zhang Yi began to massage her legs. It started there, and soon moved to her lips, then back to her legs. Zhokir recounted that Uncle Yu's recovery was unusual. During the surgery, his wounds began to heal rapidly. Hearing this, Zhang Yi had a sudden epiphany. He concluded that during the supernova explosion, a gamma-ray wave passed through the Earth and must have given powers to people under some condition. It could be that Uncle Yu had awakened some ability, like his dimensional storage ability. Accepting that was the case, he wondered why only he and now Uncle Yu were the only ones to awaken an ability. His idea was that the near-death state triggered it. He was dying at the hands of Fang Yuqing, and his power saved him, while Uncle Yu was dying from 3 shots, and his regeneration power saved him. Accepting that was the case, he told Zhokir to keep his uncle sedated from now on. He could only wake up at the right time. Zhang Yi went to the living room, and there was Shilime looking for something to eat. He threw it in her face that he stored everything, so there's no use looking for anything. He also ordered her to go take care of Uncle Yu all the time, and do whatever is necessary. Soon the woman obeyed and went to her husband's room. The next step was to go after another traitor, so he went up to the top floor of the building, with a police shield in hand, shot the lock on the door, and kicked it open. Fang Yuqing ran towards him with a knife and hit the shield, losing the knife upon impact and falling backward. Zhang Yi remarked that it had been a long time since he'd seen the girl. Looking at her best friend on the table, he said he understood how someone as incompetent as her managed to stay alive. Lost in anger, madness, and other stupid feelings, she screamed. Why couldn't anyone kill him? It was Zhang Yi's fault. If he had been a loser like he always was, she would have accepted being with him. Zhang Yi didn't want to talk. He immediately hit her leg with a bat, breaking the bone. Then dragging her by the hair, he said he should have done it a long time ago. The cynical girl yelled that no. Fang Yuqing regretted it, not her older brother Zhang Yi. The protagonist let her go from the top floor and watched her fall heavily into the snow, contentedly watching the young and innocent Fang Yuqing lying in the snow. The next morning, at his house, Zhang Yi went to check on Uncle Yu in the room. Unexpectedly, his recovery speed was several times faster than that of an ordinary person. In just one day, his bullet wound had healed. Zhang Yi asked Zhokir to monitor his condition until he fully recovered to be sure. She then administered a sedative injection to Uncle Yu, as usual. At that moment, Shilime approached and asked Zhang Yi to go to her house to get her phone charger and the baby's diapers. He looked at Uncle Yu and remembered that people in a coma are said to hear everything said bed around them, so he was kind to the woman and said he would do it after he finished something urgent. Leaving the room, Zhang Yi said it was time to eliminate the opportunists. He went outside to set more buildings on fire while saying to himself that this was to eliminate potential threats. Zhu Hao, who had been beaten up before, realizing Zhang Yi was approaching, came forward and said he had valuable information for his older brother. Zhang Yi smiled, thinking he already had practically everything he needed. What else could be important? Big brother Zhang Yi, have you heard of Wang Simon, the richest man in the city? He built an underground shelter called the Doomsday with $200 million. Because Zhang Yi showed interest, Zhu Hao asked to talk in a place where no one could hear. They went to an apartment, and then Zhu Hao spilled the beans. He said that Wang Simon's shelter is in a luxury-gated community. Zhang Yi then asked, "So what? What's your reason for telling me this?" Zhu Hao replied, "The point is, there are infinite food supplies there." He wants to be Zhang Yi's helper to rob Wang Simon's underground shelter. The protagonist found this idea ridiculous. No matter what's inside, invading such a secure place isn't worth the risk for him. However, Zhu Hao argues that Wang Simon already knows about Zhang Yi and even contacted him to steal his snowmobile. This information only made Zhang Yi angry. He asked Zhu Hao how he wanted to die. Frightened, the guy shouted that he wouldn't plot anything against Zhang Yi and actually wanted to help him. To make things even clearer, the protagonist shot Zhu Hao next to his head and asked for a good reason to let him live. The guy said that the mansion has plenty of food and he wants to join Zhang Yi to ensure food for himself too. Furthermore, Zhu Hao was friends with Wang Simon, the spoiled rich kid who had everything one could want and still humiliated Zhu Hao in front of girls. He mainly wants to get revenge on Wang Simon. Zhang Yi is very interested in vengeance, so he gives him a chance. The protagonist asks if he knows about the security of the place, how many enemies there are, and similar things. "Tell me now." Fearful, Zhu Hao says he will only give the details if they make a deal first. The protagonist smiles and says he'd prefer to crack his head open. Zhu Hao argues that he knows Zhang Yi has eliminated everyone who's no longer useful to him, so he won't say anything even under threat, since the outcome is the same. After these words, Zhang Yi says Zhu Hao is smart, so he will accept to negotiate. The guy is happy, but Zhang Yi says there are two conditions first. He needs him to help eliminate someone who has been bothering him every day. He takes Zhu Hao to an apartment and tells him there's a secret to share with him. The cunning protagonist takes out a briefcase and leaves the guy scared and confused about what it is. But he admits that joining Zhang Yi will at least ensure his survival, so any risk is worth it. The protagonist takes out a syringe and says he was a professional assassin, and that's how he survived until now. He says it's an assurance. This poison is very common and takes effect in a week. After they take over Wang Simon's shelter, he will give him an antidote. Zhang Yi applies everything and says they will eliminate someone today. Zhu Hao should wait at this person's house right away. When alone, Zhang Yi reveals that it was just saline solution. It was a strategy to reduce the chances of being betrayed. Returning home, he saw Mei with his uncle Yu. He went to the room to tell his uncle that he's happy, he's okay, and from now on, he will take care of the three of them as a family, and they will all live together here. It's a promise. Hearing this, Mei is very happy and says a promise is a promise. She hands over her baby and says she will bring her and the baby's things from home. Mei thinks that with the baby and Uncle Yu here, Zhang Yi wouldn't be able to lock her out and kick her out of here. With her baby and phone in hand, Zhang Yi notifies that she left and Zhu Hao should handle the problem. While the scoundrel plays with the baby, the mother went to open the door of her house, thinking she would never return here. Her surprise was that someone was inside the house. So frightened, the girl couldn't even try to defend herself. She was hit and then received several more attacks. Satisfied, Zhu Hao sent a message saying the trash was taken out. She really won't be going back to her place anymore, nor to Zhang Yi's house. At home, Zhang Yi tells his Uncle Yu that now he and his wife Mei will also live here, and it will be great. However, Uncle Yu, unlike his wife, says that this is too much. He shouldn't bother Zhang Yi that much. The baby starts crying, and not knowing how to fix it, Zhang Yi hands it over to Jokir. "You need to change the diapers. Figure it out, woman." Returning to the room, he went to talk to Uncle Yu again. The uncle says that she's taking too long, and he's worried. Zhang Yi tells Jokir that he'll go look for Mei because she's taking too long. Zhang Yi went to his room to gear up, sent a message to his building group asking all neighbors to gather at apartment 1301. He will distribute rewards and food for everyone. He sends a voice message privately to Zhu Hao, telling him not to come if he wants to stay alive. After a while, everyone was happy. All the other buildings were eliminated, and now they can follow Zhang Yi and secure their food. Outside the apartment, the protagonist hears that everyone is there. He doesn't enter, throws 2 grenades inside, and closes the door. Everyone was happy, and out of nowhere, 2 grenades appear. There wasn't even time to blink, and everything went up in flames. The door was completely destroyed. Zhang Yi, hoping he had protected himself with the shield, entered the room to check the chaos. Everything was in pieces. One of them who survived, angry, asks why. They all helped him so much. Why kill them? Without mercy, Zhang Yi says that he helped everyone survive, and now they owe their lives to him. He's just taking what's his. After erasing all the residents of his building, the protagonist protagonist says that now he has killed all his enemies from his past life, except for Chen Zhang, because of Zhou Qier. Back home, he goes to talk to Uncle Yu and says that there's trouble. Their neighbors rebelled and eliminated Xie Li Mei. They were planning with leaders from other buildings to eliminate us. Zhang Yi says he took care of them, but some escaped. The uncle, crying, says it's his fault. Frustrated, he punches the bed and makes Zhang Yi think that his power, apart from healing, is super strength. He tells him to calm down. Zhang Yi says he's also to blame for this. This world is very cruel, but he'll get a new woman for him, and she'll be very attractive. Don't worry, this leaves the old man all shy. One last problem for Zhang Yi is the baby. Zhou Qier says he won't stop crying, and nothing works now. With his eyes, he asks if she has used that. She feels embarrassed, saying that's enough. These are only for Zhang Yi's use. The protagonist says he will get someone who can breastfeed the baby. We didn't see if he talked to Uncle Yu about it, because in the next scene, Zhang Yi was going with the baby to Li Jian's building. Maybe this was the only one the protagonist didn't burn. He called for their leader, Li Jian, and told him he needed him. Zhang Yi asks if he's not afraid. Li Jian says he is, but it's also useless to run away from him. Moreover, coming like this with a baby in his arms doesn't seem like he was here to kill them. He asked them to find a mother to take care of this baby. There's food here for a while, for whoever takes the child. Zhang Yi says he won't do anything against him and his building because he truly knows they won't try anything against him. Li Jian, not very grateful, says he will take care of the child. He even runs to a woman, hands over the child and the food, and tells her to take it because everything here is truly shared. Observing how many people are alive in his building, Zhang Yi asks how they will survive when their food runs out. Li Jian says that when there's no food, they will die with dignity. The protagonist says that the food problem can be solved with the things he burned before. Li Jian firmly says no, and despite everything Zhang Yi did to corrupt Li Jian, he never faltered once, so Zhang Yi says he admires him a lot, and Li Jian also says he admires how Zhang Yi has the power to keep those close to him alive. Thinking for a moment, Li Jian wanted to ask a favor of the protagonist, but Zhang Yi stops him and says no. However, he continues, and says that the protagonist used to deliver food to all the buildings before, so now that there's only one building left, why not help them? Zhang Yi just refuses and leaves, but after thinking for a moment, he changes his mind a little. He says that if he helps his people for a while, everything will go wrong, and they'll end up like the other buildings too. Instead, he gives them all the seeds he had. If they manage to plant them somehow, they will be able to rely on themselves and not on others. These seeds are the last thing they received from him. For the first time since the snow apocalypse began, Zhang Yi helps someone without any ulterior motives. Li Jian asks one of his residents if it's possible to cultivate it, and an elderly biology teacher says it's not impossible. Maybe there's a small chance of success. Meanwhile, in his luxury home, Zhang Yi mentions that the neighbor's issue has been completely resolved, and now the goal is to get their hands on a new fortress. After a while, Zhou Qier returns home and asks if he's finished his work. Yes. Taking off her coat, she asks what he wants to eat. Zhou Qier, all innocent, starts preparing in the kitchen, and the mischievous protagonist holds her back and says she should guess what he wants to eat. She feels awkward, mentioning that her uncle is in the next room, but Zhang Yi says the house has soundproofing and thermal insulation. The next day, Zhou Qier, very tired from all the effort, continued sleeping. Zhang Yi sends a message to Xu Hao, "Come to my house now." It didn't take long for him to arrive. The same person who not long ago was being kicked by others on Zhang Yi's orders was now in his warm house. Out of respect, he sits on the floor and not on the sofa, waiting for the boss. Zhang Yi wants to know about the dealings with Wang Ximeng. Before Xu Hao can speak, the protagonist tells him to shut up and give him his phone. Xu Hao freezes in fear. Why on earth does he want to see his phone? Zhang Yi insists, saying to hurry. He's going to read his conversations with Wang Ximeng. Hu Hao says it's better not to. Suspiciously, Zhang Yi grabs him by the collar, asking if he's hiding something. After some threats, the guy hands over his phone to the protagonist. Xu Hao says he cursed Zhang Yi a lot in there, but that's part of the act, so don't take it to heart. He sees that Xu Hao has passed all his information to Wang Ximeng, and they discuss joining forces and taking things from Zhang Yi, but Xu Hao swears that all of this is part of gaining the rich guy's trust. Thinking more deeply about it, Zhang Yi realizes that Wang Ximeng knows about his weapons, his snowmobile, and bunker in the apartment. He decides to use this to his advantage. The protagonist tells Xu Hao to tell everything he knows to Wang Ximen's house. If he misses a detail, he dies. After telling everything about his underground bunker, made with rocket materials, with a system of sleep-inducing gases and flamethrowers at the entrance. Basically, the place is an impenetrable hell. The only way in is if those inside let you, so Zhang Yi's focus turns to figuring out how to neutralize the gas and flamethrower system. The plan Xu Hao proposes is for him to pretend to capture Zhang Yi and make Wang Ximeng let him in. This plan doesn't smell too good to the protagonist, but it seems to be the only choice. About this, he has an idea. If he can use his dimensional space ability in other ways. Zhang Yi, acting all weird, thinks about the possibilities. please. Then he tells Xu Hao to leave, get out of here, and in 2 or 3 days, I'll call you. But master, what about the antidote? I'll die without it, Xu Hao says. Zhang Yi says it's no problem because it takes 7 days for the poison to take effect. He has time. Zhang Yi slams the door in Xu Hao's face. Now he has to figure out what else he can cheat in reality with this power. So he sits back down, thinks about it a lot. Suddenly, he makes a fire inside the house and starts trying to absorb the fire with his ability. If it's like the food that's preserved, it'll be incredible. He absorbs all the fire and doesn't get burned in the process. Then he manages to shoot out the same fire, like a cannon. The guy is so overpowering and it makes him very happy. If this worked, what else could be possible? Thinking about this, he wonders if he could suck someone into the dimensional theft hole. With that in mind, Zhang Yi managed to get one of the residents of Li Jian's building as a guinea pig. He threw a wooden stick in front of the guy and said if he can hit it, he'll get a bread as a reward. Of course, the man was suspicious as to why the almighty Zhang Yi would ask someone to beat him with a stick. Is this guy a masochist? Motivated by the prospect of food, the man jumped in to hit the stick with all his might. As Zhang Yi thought, he managed to suck the guy into the dimensional storage space, and it happened very slowly. After entering up to the last leg, Zhang Yi checked inside the space he controlled. The man was in there, frozen like everything else in there, unable to move and didn't seem to be alive. Checking his body, he realized there was no pulse or breathing. Thinking about it, it makes sense that food doesn't spoil and stays the same as when it entered. Everything in here is frozen in time. Taking the guy out, and to Zhang Yi's surprise, he was alive. He kicked the wood to the side and went to ask the guy how he felt seconds ago. Terrified, he replied that he thought he was dead. He was in a white world with supplies all around. This information blows Zhang Yi's mind, but of course, he tells the man that it was some delusion of his. But in the head of our crazy protagonist, he just discovered that time passes differently inside his dimension and that living beings don't die immediately there, but if they stay too long inside, they can have a mental breakdown and die from it. What wasn't clear to me is if he meant that besides the psychological being affected, living things cannot be sucked as easily as lifeless things. Because he removes some pieces of the man for the simple purpose of testing this, he sends the fingers easily and it works. They can stay in the other dimension. Tell me, you smarter ones, how do you think Zhang Yi's power works in the comments? After destroying the guy, he gives him something to treat his fingers. See how nice he is. After thinking for a while, the man is all happy down there, fingerless, insane, but at least eating well. The conclusions were that he can throw objects out of the space. Now people can't be sucked or thrown out. I, with my few neurons, think this guy only entered the dimension because he jumped towards the portal. Now things like fire, he can suck in and project out in whichever direction he wants. With this information, he already knows he can defeat Wang Ximen. He goes to his great guinea pig friend and thanks him for the help. The poor guy didn't complain about anything and thanks for being able to exchange 2 fingers for food and says he has 8 more. Zhang Yi suddenly lands a blow to his jugular and the man falls backward without understanding what happened. Evil Zhang Yi says that he's no longer useful and since he's already had his reward meal, it's time to leave. Strangely, the miserable man, with his vision darkening, is happy to finally be able to escape from this cruel world. Back home, Zhang Yi says he'll find more people from Lin Jian's building to practice real combat simulation for another 3 days. So, 3 days of wickedness later, Zhang Yi called Xu Hao for a chat. But first, Xu Hao was begging for the antidote. His poison was taking effect faster. He could feel it. Zhang Yi notices that Xu Hao is eating well now, but the poor guy's appearance is worsening, all due to a fake injection. That's the power of psychology. The protagonist then says he'll give a temporary antidote that relieves symptoms for some time. Hurry up, please. I can't take it anymore. I'm dying. He applies it and says it'll only last until the operation to invade Wang Ximen's underground bunker. After applying it, Xu Hao thanks the master and says the plan can start. He calls Wang Ximen to set up a meeting. Something tells me Zhang Yi will do something. Later he packed his things and told Zhou Qier he's going on a mission. What's strange to her is that all the neighborhood's problems have been solved. So why? At the right time, he says he'll tell his girlfriend. For now, she should stay in the building. He left food for almost a month for her and Uncle Yu. Worried, our lovely Zhou Qier tries to stop him from leaving. It's always dangerous outside. Her man then says he's the danger out there. He gives her a sweet kiss and says everything will be fine. If that's the case, she calms down. Our Zhou Qier is a bit naughty, guys. The mission now is to go to the bunker, but unlike what we expected, Xu Hao is tied up behind. The protagonist explains that they have to keep up appearances. The two walk into the city. After a while, they reach the condominium area, which was the city's richest region. Zhang Yi says since it's the highest place in the city, not even the houses were covered by snow. I didn't quite understand how it works, but the topography of the place makes it snowless. From the entrance of the condominium onward, they go on foot. They won't take the snowmobile to Wang Ximen's house. A woman in one of the houses noticed the duo's arrival on a snowmobile. Looking at her empty house without food, she thinks this must be be her hope. When they arrived in front of Wang Simon's mansion, it was already dark. In front of the house, Zhang Yi tells Shu Hao to go call the rich boy. Scared of taking a bullet, he goes to the camera to say, "Incredible, legendary, rich and handsome Wang Simon. It's me. I came for the meeting to negotiate the snowmobile." On the other side, the rich kid doesn't understand why they're here today and not tomorrow, which was the agreed upon day. Furthermore, the snowmobile isn't with them. But anyway, Xu Hao says to brother Wang Simon, "Please let us in. This is a unique opportunity to get what you want." Wang Simon makes it clear that if they try anything, they'll be eliminated. Entering the mansion, Zhang Yi realizes that the apartment doesn't even compare to this. Xu Hao goes ahead, afraid of getting a headshot. He says that after that door is indeed his house. They keep walking. The millionaire Wang Simon presses a little button on the computer, and then in the security corridor, defense mechanisms are activated, and gases are injected inside. In the rich kid's cameras, the smoke filled everything, and the screams he heard from the two were of desperation. Upon realizing that everything fell silent, he says it's time to treat the guests very well. What you can't perceive is that within the smoke curtain, Zhang Yi was wearing a gas mask and sucking all the smoke into the dimensional theft space. After a few minutes, the door opens. The plan is to shoot him when he approaches. But to Zhang Yi's surprise, the rich boy didn't come, so he pretended to be unconscious and angry with Shu Hao, who said that only Wang Simon and the beautiful girls lived here. The heavily armed guy knocked on the protagonist to make sure he was knocked out and threw him on the bunk. At that moment, Zhang Yi realized that this person is a famous TV actor and must be Wang Simon's friend. Inside, he threw the two of them on the ground like garbage bags. He tied them up while remarking that the security system was truly incredible. The rich guy remarked that it was obvious, as the bunker cost $1 billion to make. Leaving the two behind, they discussed how Zhang Yi had hidden the snowmobile nearby, so he would go look for it. While the two talked, Zhang Yi released the gas he absorbed in the perfect direction toward the guys. "Hey brother Lin, why are you falling?" "I'm not, but why are you shrinking?" As the men fell to the ground, Zhang Yi had already freed himself. Xu Hao and the two wealthy men were unconscious from the gas, and he was now free. The first thing he did was tie up the two and take their weapons. The guys used gold-plated Desert Eagles. Zhang Yi applied the law of communism and took them for himself. All the places were fancy and large. Walking through the rooms, one of them had an indoor plantation, now clearly belonging to Zhang Yi. Going upstairs, he found game rooms, in one of which were the beautiful girls Xu Hao had mentioned, but it was strange that they were all unconscious. In another room labeled dogs and cats, there were the sights they were seeing and tied-up cosplayers, clothes strewn on the floor. One of them was awake and crying, begging for forgiveness from Mr. Wang Simon, saying they were wrong. Holding onto her legs, she said they just wanted to go out for a bit and could do anything he wanted if he let them. Without heart or empathy, Zhang Yi kicked the girl and said that now he had an idea of what was happening here with the others. A few shots, and the place fell silent. Now in the surveillance room, Zhang Yi said the heart of this madhouse must be here. All the cameras and environments were controlled from here. After walking through the other 200,000 rooms, many of which only opened with a password, he gave up and went back to wake the two rich men up with water in their faces. "Are you awake?" Not understanding how this happened, the rich guy freaks out. Zhang Yi then makes it clear that a magician doesn't reveal his tricks, and now has something more important to discuss. He asks if Wang Simon wants to cooperate with him or not. The answer is yes, as long as he doesn't hurt him. Zhang Yi's condition is to live here with Simon, which shouldn't be a problem in such a big house. Surprised, Wang Simon asks if the protagonist only wanted to live here with them, not kill everyone and take over the place and its girls. He says no, that here is too big to live alone. It would be lonely. Wang, all happy, says that if he wants to be friends, he can. Zhang Yi says that the snow won't last forever, and when it's gone, a poor and unimportant person like him being friends with someone as rich as Wang Simon is the best thing to do. Simon agrees, but internally, he thinks about how Zhang Yi is too afraid to kill him. To release the rich guy, Zhang Yi's condition is for him to teach him how to operate the house's security system, to give him the passwords and everything else. As he has no choice, Simon tells him to promise not to hurt him after he does that. Zhang Yi promises that after that, he will let him go. "I don't kill innocents." With no choice, Wang Simon agrees. In the control room, the rich guy teaches Zhang Yi everything, including the passwords and the instruction manual. With all this, Zhang Yi is sure he can control the entire house. If that's the case, brother Zhang Yi can release Simon. He smiles maliciously and agrees. Zhang Yi takes out a knife and cuts Wang Simon's vocal cords. He calmly tells him to breathe slowly, assuring him that the pain will soon fade away. He truly soothes the man, allowing him to peacefully transition to the other world. Simon, now voiceless, wonders why he's saying all this to someone he just deceived. Zhang Yi, as if reading minds, remarks that there's no point in keeping a worthless piece of crap alive. Perhaps it's because of the girls he saw inside. Yeah, that must be it, folks. After disposing of the two, Zhang Yi cleans up the mess that leaked out from Wang Simon and his friend. His dilemma is what to do with Xu Hao, who helped a lot, and everything went smoothly because of him. While contemplating, young Xu Hao opens his eyes and catches sight of the scene the protagonist wanted to hide, him cleaning up the aftermath. However, upon being released, Xu Hao is simply happy, so that miserable Wang Simon went to hell, well-deserved for all he did. Zhang Yi points to a backpack full of food, saying it's his reward for a job well done. Upon hearing the word food, the man rushes over to see and starts eating right there. The issue is that Zhang Yi mentions the house's power won't last long with the generators here, and the food is running out, so that's all the reward he can offer for taking over the bunker. Xu Hao, upon hearing this, refuses to accept and questions if he heard correctly. The protagonist confirms it, explaining that Wang Simon lived here with many other people, and they consumed everything in the house, probably because of all the women. I think it's true. However, Xu Hao doesn't believe it, accusing Zhang Yi of hiding the good stuff from him and not sharing properly. Angry at the situation, he kicks the food backpack and says he won't accept it. He provided the information about this place and took risks for such a meager reward. Xu Hao claims Zhang Yi is lying. He advances towards the protagonist with hatred, saying that if that's the case, it's better for Zhang Yi to kill him, or Xu Hao will spill everything about Zhang Yi to the others, the supplies and powers he possesses. If not Xu Hao himself, someone stronger will come to defeat him. In anger, Zhang Yi shoots Xu Hao in the chest. He falls to the ground, unable to react because he's stupid. Zhang Yi simply says that anger doesn't make you stronger, only weaker. If you don't have power, you shouldn't confront those who are stronger. Taking back the backpack, Zhang Yi says he was going to let young Xu Hao live, and even gave him the food there, so why did he seek his own death? Later, the protagonist ponders things in the living room, 1,000 thoughts running through the scoundrel's mind. If Zhou Qir were here with him, it would be great. But what about Uncle Yu? Maybe he'll let Uncle stay in the apartment, and he'll move here with Zhou Qir. Now walking through the bar, he says there's only one thing missing. He promised to find a delicious girl for Uncle Yu. How is he going to do that? He can't know that now. He decides to have a drink and see if the TV works. Incredibly, there's cable TV with channels from all over the world. Investigating how this is possible, he finds a network room. The mansion has its own internet server, so he can communicate with the internet via Elon Musk's satellite. Zhang Yi can have information from all over the world with this connection. Searching the computers, he finds many things. The main information is about reports from other countries regarding individuals who gained special abilities. While some control fire, others turn green. However, most became deformed or gained useless characteristics. Anyway, Zhang Yi's conclusion is that if there are people with powers out there, it's another reason for him to stay here in this protected bunker. His main goal now is to immediately go get his woman and move her to this place. As he's about to start his snowmobile, a sweet voice calls out to him. His natural reaction is to pull out his gun and aim. The person in question is the redhead he saw earlier when Zhang Yi arrived. The woman says she has a favor to ask. Immediately, the protagonist recognizes her. Is she Yang Mi, the hottest girl in China in recent years? Every man in the country wants her. It's truly amazing, guys. The girl says she hasn't eaten properly for days and asks if she can go with him. He responds that life is indeed difficult nowadays, even for the rich. But if she wants to go with him, she must give a good reason. The girl asserts that if she receives food, she's willing to accept any condition he wants, making it clear with a mouth gesture indicating it's really anything. At that moment, Zhang Yi blushes, then starts drooling. The scoundrel's heart is hooked. He regains his composure and tells her to come with him. The two head to the bunker, and at the door, she asks if this isn't Wang Simon's mansion. Zhang Yi says no, this place belongs to him now. Inside, it's warm, so she takes off her coat. She thanks him for letting her in and asks about his relationship with Wang Simon. Without answering, Zhang Yi asks about her relationship with Wang Simon. Do the rich know all the other rich people around? She explains that since their families are very wealthy, they bump into each other at all the fancy places and events. That's all. If that's the case, Zhang Yi says she shouldn't worry about Wang Simon. He's moved out. They have tea to warm their bodies, and then she asks if she can take a shower before they talk more. By all means, she undresses and goes to the shower. Guys, control yourselves. Inside, she thinks the guy is quite charming. If it's to ensure her survival, she can make sacrifices. The girl's plan is to ask to stay with him for a while, just until the extreme cold is over. Imagining what she'll have to give in return, she blushes and tries to convince herself that it's for her own good. It's just a favor exchange. She needs someone to protect her. Coming out of the bathroom, she puts on a towel and goes to him in the living room. The girl asks, straight away, "Can I live here with you?" It's hard for a weak woman to survive alone in such a harsh world. She uses her strongest weapon and says that if it's only for a short time, then nobody will know about their relationship. Zhang Yi takes her hand and goes to get more wine for them. He asks if she really thinks the ice will melt and the world will return to normal. She says it has to. If that's the case, he says, it's okay, but the woman has some conditions. Zhang Yi can't spread the news that she was with him after the global freeze ends, as she's famous and her career would be jeopardized. He agrees. Now Zhang Yi's first rule is for her to obey all all his orders. To start, the first order is to burn calories with very pleasurable couple exercises. They must spend a lot of energy together. After many deep movements, Zhang Yi shows her his power by producing a new outfit for her to wear. The girl is surprised and asks if he's a powerful magician. If so, she wants to discuss more things with him right away. She's still in a towel to not lose her natural power, so Zhang Yi, to demonstrate his power better, conjures up a complete meal table with pizza and roast chicken. If she's obedient, the beautiful girl can have this level of comfort. All she needs to do is obey his desires. The woman drools over the food. Zhang Yi tells her to be smart, just accept it already. She's thinking why, as a famous actress, she can't be discovered sleeping with just anyone. She's still worried about her reputation and says she has more conditions. Their agreement is only valid until the freezing in the world ends. Everything they do here is a secret. Gazing at the beauty in front of him, Zhang Yi says she's beautiful. The girl's second condition, which she says with embarrassment and fidgeting, is that she can't be forced to do very perverted things. He has to accept that, and then they can have a colorful friendship. Zhang Yi comes close and says she came to him for help, so she can't ask for too much. Plus, if it's enjoyable for him, it will be for her too. He opens the gates for the girl, while she's still hesitant, but in the end, she accepts everything. Zhang Yi informs that he'll go out to find someone else to come live here. But before that, he ponders and asks if many wealthy people still live in this condominium, and if she knows them. If everyone here had millions, they might have a better chance of surviving until now. What Zhang Yi really wants to know is if she knows a beautiful woman to introduce to someone. She says most of the wealthy here are older. Does his friend care about that? That's perfect. His friend is 40 years old. If that's the case, Yang Mi says she knows Zhou Haimei, once considered a goddess by many. Zhang Yi tells her to call the woman right away. She calls the goddess and explains the situation for her to come. After a few minutes, the legendary Zhou Haimei was here. Zhang Yi displays his power to conjure food from beyond and hands it to her. It was because of this that the woman came. He then quickly asks if things are clear to her too. We are making a deal here of food in exchange for food for his friend. They are going out now. Zhang Yi warns that if information about this place leaks out, both of them will die. Meanwhile, next to the territory of the luxury condominiums, in a province called Chu, some people are prepared to walk in the cold, and with some equipment they will dig in the snow. These people can withstand the cold and break the ice in the right places and fish. While they were fishing, they noticed something coming from afar. Upon closer inspection, it was a vehicle that could move on snow and a beautiful woman. With the noise of the bike, the fishermen's wolves went after dragging the sleds. One of them clearly showed his intention by trying to hit Zhang Yi with a trident. To dodge it, Zhou Haimei fell from the snowmobile. Worried about Uncle Zhang Yi's woman, he stood in front of her and pointed at them. Are you aware that I'm armed? The confident lunatics ask how many bullets he has. Can he take them all down? In exchange for this snowmobile, they'll take the risk. Incredibly, Zhang Yi tried to argue that he doesn't need to kill everyone here, but if they did something, it would happen. One of the men says that if he leaves the snowmobile and the woman, he can leave alive. Zhou Haimei behind thought this was a real possibility and got scared. However, firmly Zhang Yi asked if they were crazy.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on upcoming videos. Leave a like if you enjoyed it and share with your friends. See you in the next video. Bye for now.